Welcome to NUIC Football, joined by Logan Swan. I'm your host, Kyle Kampmier. We're going to have Joe Merdian and Jay Doyle joining us later to give a recap of the I8FA season and go over some postseason awards that we're planning on giving out. But right now, we're going to recap the semifinals in the I8FA, along with breaking down these matchups as we head to the state championships this week. And Logan, this is going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, we have a big production process taking place this week. We're going to be teaming up with View from the West. We're going to have live preview shows at 8:30, at 12:30, and again at 3:30 to be ahead of each of the Class 1A, 2A, and 3A games. We're going to have photography of the all-state teams. We're going to have sideline cameras in place to take in a lot of the highlights and get those posted live as the games are being played out. And then we're going to have live on Facebook the press conferences for Class 1A, 2A, and 3A as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Really taking a look into that. This is by far going to be the biggest production show that we've had. We just put on a game day style edition from the semifinal game ahead of the Lena Winslow-Stockton game in Stockton the other day at John O'Boyle Field. That had a lot of great success, and we definitely feel that this week is going to be even bigger yet. We also did a live pregame show as a test at the 8-man state championship games on Friday at Monmouth College as well. That went great. Had well over 1,000 views on that. And then on top of that, our show was simulcasted on Saturday to both View from the West and to NUIC Football YouTube channels. That too was well over 1,000 views in the short time that we were on in that. So looking forward to this week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, you're going to be there with us. We're going to have Greg and Mitch are going to be there. We're bringing in Matt Surdich. Ty Taylor's going to be there with us. Carrie's going to be on the sidelines working the camera for the all-state pictures. We're going to have Shane Cleaver doing the press conferences live for our Facebook followers. And then who else? Oh, we're going to have Zachary Shimon on the sidelines working the cameras as well with Greg, bringing us different highlights as the games go on. So it's going to be a ton of fun. Definitely looking forward to what we have coming up coverage-wise. But before we start getting into some of these games, let's go through and recap the semifinal games. And Logan, I know this is going to hurt for you, but it'll be short-lived.
Heartbreaker. Yep.
So while that's pulling up here, so there it is right there. So the first game in 1A North was Lena Winslow-Stockton. Lena Winslow avenging a loss 30-16 to get that win and move into the state championship game for the sixth consecutive year. Brown County avenged both losses on the season in the regular season. This time against Calhoun, 14-13. Brown County to the state championship game for the first time in school history. Wilmington blows by El Paso Gridley 41-0. That was the halftime score, by the way. And then that story remained the same with reserves in the game in the second half for a big win for the Wildcats as they have clocked their way to the state championship game. They're going to take on Maroa Forsyth, who is making their 12th trip overall, their 10th under Josh Jostis to these playoffs, or to the state finals, I mean. Maroa Forsyth beat Ala 28-6. In Class 3A, Byron taking it to Richmond Burton 44-10. Byron obviously was about a 2-score favorite in that game, and they really blew the doors off of Richmond Burton here. And then the game that we thought could be the shootout was exactly that. Unity came in as a 3-touchdown favorite, or just about a 3-touchdown favorite. And St. Joseph Ogden gave them a game, and we kind of anticipated that could happen as Unity does pull it out 51-44. They get to the state championship game for the 7th time. Their last time at state, they met up with Byron in 2021. Byron won that one 35-7. So it'll be interesting to see how this game takes place. Obviously, when we're looking at these games, there are clear-cut favorites across all 3 classes.
Yeah. There's pretty clear favorites in all 3 classes. That doesn't mean that the non-favorite can't win by any means. That can happen. I think it was, what was it? It was Monticello a couple years ago against Byron. They came in as pretty hefty underdogs and pulled it out. So it can happen, but semifinals for the most part, besides a couple games, kind of went the way we thought it would. Obviously, Brown County beat us, but that was a coin flip game, so it wasn't much of a true upset. We were only projected 1 by 1, and I think we were favored by 2, so it wasn't much of a true upset, but it was an upset. And then Lena, again, we felt like it was a 50-50 game going into it, and I got to watch that second half, and they really controlled that the entire game, is what it seems like.
Yeah, the first half was kind of back and forth, really. I mean, Lena Winslow was able to score 2 plays after recovering a fumble on the opening kickoff. That gave them great field position. It set up Alex Schlichting's 6-yard touchdown run to put them on the board. And then they added the 2-point conversion to take a quick 8-0 lead with less than a minute off the clock. But Stockton held strong the rest of the first half, and then with about 4.5 minutes remaining in the first half, they were able to get into the end zone on a pass play from Noah Larson to Morgan Hass. And then they, too, were able to convert to make it an 8-8 score, which would carry into halftime. In the second half, Lena Winslow had the ball to start, and with that, they were able to go down the field, drive, score, get a lead. They missed a 2-point conversion, so it was 14-8. But then the backbreaker came, I feel, when they forced Stockton to punt, and then Lena Winslow was able to get another drive put together, get another touchdown. This time they did convert the 2-point conversion to extend their lead to 22-8. Stockton did battle back there later in the third quarter to put up another touchdown to make it 22-16 with under 2 minutes left in the third quarter. And that was the score going into the fourth quarter. But then Lena Winslow was able to get another score up on the board that all but solidified the final outcome of that game. So it was a great battle. Both teams definitely left everything out on the field. Neither team needs to be ashamed of the outpour that they put on. I felt that both teams left everything that they had out there, which is exactly what you want in a football game, especially at this time of the year. Lena Winslow was just more dominant up front this time around than what they had been back in week 2. And it's one of the things I talked about before. This is the first time I've actually watched Stockton be outworked in the fourth quarter. They had not showed that all season. The only team that kind of outworked them early in a game was the Dupec game, and Stockton was able to persevere and pull out an 18-14 win there when they scored a touchdown late in the fourth quarter to get their first lead that upheld for the final outcome of the game as well. But this time around, it was, especially in the second half, Lena Winslow was just drilling them and drilling them and drilling them and drilling them. And, I already seeing people talking about, size doesn't matter, all that stuff. Well, Lena Winslow did have the bigger line over Stockton, and Stockton dominated the first time around. I mean, they got a bunch of wrestlers. Obviously, everybody knows that Lena Winslow and Stockton co-op for wrestling. And with that, your wrestlers typically are a little bit faster. They just are. It's the way the sport's played, especially when you are a wrestler and you have state championship caliber wrestlers on your team. You're probably going to be pretty good at that. But Lena Winslow is able to just push and shove their way through everything. And really opened up the middle of the line to allow Aiden Wild to have a big game, something that we had not seen from him the first time that these two teams played. I mean, they held Wild to 63 yards the first time around and let Schlichting get about a $125 or so right around there as well, with most of those yards coming off of a 77-yard run on the drive that responded to the first Stockton touchdown back in week 2. But this time they had no answers for the push up front along with the running of Wild. I mean, between Duncan Neville at center and Gannon Dunker at guard, they were able to do a lot that was able to help open those lines up. And then, of course, the play of Preston Schultz at tackle as well helped out a lot to get that line moved, opened up, and allowed Wild to do wild things.
He had a big day, that's for sure. Big day.
Yeah, I think one of the games I was more impressed by, like you said, Brown County Calhoun. Calhoun came in as a favorite, albeit a slight favorite, so we knew it was a toss-up game. I did feel, and me and you had talked, and I know people are going to just say that you're biased because you're a Calhoun guy, but I also felt that Calhoun was the better team going into that game. I still feel that they probably are the better team, but Brown County showed up. They played well, and they did enough to be able to persevere with the win and book their ticket to the state championship game. And, I think it was back in week 3 or 4, me and you were talking about it. And I remember saying, and I said, give me 5 teams and I'll give you the rest of the field. And those 2 teams in the north and 3 teams in the south. And that's exactly what it came down to. And Brown County was one of those teams that I said that I would take. And here we are, Lena Winslow, Brown County. Not what we thought we were going to get, and not what a lot of people thought they were going to get when the brackets broke out. They were looking more towards Camp Point Central and either Lena Winslow or Stockton. But Lena Winslow did their end of the bargain. Brown County was able to upset Camp Point Central back in round 2, and then they get the rematch game against Calhoun as well. So great for Coach Little and his staff. Obviously, his staff has a lot of pedigree under their belts. Heath Fullerton is an Alito grad, also coached at Carthage. Coach Little's from Carthage, coached at Carthage. Lyle Klein coached at Carthage. Lyle Klein's actually a Savannah grad. So, there's a lot of good chemistry, but state championship pedigree on that coaching staff as well.
Yeah, they're experienced. That loss stings still. I won't lie. But hats off to them. I felt I said it last week. I said if Lena Winslow is your hottest team in 1A, Brown County is just a smidge below them, and I will wholeheartedly stand by that statement still. They've been red hot on defense this entire playoff run, and
yeah,
and the kid I brought up last week who I felt like he's really come on strong in these playoffs was Mo Little, and lo and behold, he had a couple big plays against us. So it's what makes the sport great, and it's what makes it hard is you only get one shot, and there are no do-overs. So it's hats off to them; they earned it.
I was watching some clips of the Wilmington El Paso Gridley game, and
oh god,
yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Like the as much as we talked about how good El Paso Gridley has been throughout the course of the year, and granted, we had Wilmington as like a 5-touchdown favorite in this game as well, so not surprised by the outcome. I'm probably more surprised that El Paso Gridley didn't at least score once, but regardless of that matter, it didn't matter by halftime anyway. But when you go back and watch those clips, you can definitely tell why EPG didn't score. The physicality difference in the game was just kind of what we thought it would be. I mean, we watched Wilmington destroy Tri-Valley. What was it, like 49-7 or something like that? Is what I think it was. Yeah, 49-7.
48-7, 49. Yeah.
And then they beat EPG 41-0. I remember somebody from EPG was on the page and they're like, you know, the Titans are definitely going to give a better game than what you think. And it's like, I don't think so. And they didn't. But, you know, for EPG, it's probably a good game because they're young. They're returning 20 of the 22 starters next year. So it's probably a good game in that essence because they know where they need to get to and grow to in order to do what they can. Wilmington obviously loses quite a bit. They're going to return 4 guys on offense, 5 on defense next year, along with some other guys that have been getting some opportunities to play as well that will be back. But as far as starters go, that's what they have coming back. And it'll be interesting to see if EPG can close that gap next year. Obviously, Wilmington's been here 3 times now in 5 years. So, Coach Reentz definitely has a program going. This is their 4th trip to state since 2014. Since 2014, those 3 other trips, they've won state. And obviously, they're entering this state championship as a heavy favorite, too. We'll talk about that in a little bit when we go over players to watch in that game. But that should be fun. Byron, Richmond, Burton. I was really impressed by Byron's outpouring. I think a lot of people thought that Richmond Burton would give them a better game. Byron obviously went in as a 2-score favorite, but the way that they just put it on Richmond Burton, obviously they scored first, and we were like, oh, cool, we are going to have a game. And then it was pretty much all Byron after
Byron. Byron after. Byron.
And, Caden Considine had a huge game. 24 carries, 286 yards, 5 touchdowns. Just a hell of a performance by Considine to just power the Tigers back to the state championship. They, too, making their 3rd trip to the state championships in the last 5 years. Ironically, when you take a look at 2021, 2023, Wilmington won, Byron won. Wilmington won, Byron won, and now they're both back here again. The odd years here in the 2020 seem to favor these 2 teams, and the other ironic thing is they have the same decal on their helmets with the little panther paw. So I find that to be cool, unique, because obviously in 2023 there was 3 in a row there because CPC has the exact same helmet logo, and all 3 of them won 1A, 2A, and 3A. So, yeah.
It's a good day for the Clemson Claw.
It is. So that gives you a look at the games that we've saw in the semifinals. So we are going to start to break down the Class 1A state championship game when we return right after this. Are you looking to buy or sell a home in the NUIC area? Trust local expertise. Jess Schumacher with RE/MAX Town, Lake, and Country knows the market and understands the community. Whether you're upgrading, downsizing, or buying your first home, Jess is here to make the process simple and stress-free. Put his experience to work for you today. Call Jess Schumacher with RE/MAX Town, Lake, and Country at 608-347-3659. Your hometown realtor, helping you find home where your story begins. Logan, our state championship game for Class 1A is Lena Winslow against Brown County. Lena Winslow entering this game with a 12-1 record. Brown County entering at 11-2. We just got done discussing how they got here, so we're not going to go through that again. But we do have 2 of the top 5 ranked teams in the state battling out for a state title. Obviously, we hear all the time about the cries for 1 through 32, and while I agree, I am an advocate for 1 through 32, at the same time, had you gone 1 through 32 this year, you probably would have ended up with the same semifinal games anyway. The only difference as far as what the top level teams were concerned is that Camp Point Central would have moved out of the bottom bracket to the upper bracket and would have been in the same bracket as Lena Winslow and Stockton and would have been in the same quadrant with Lena Winslow. while Brown County and Calhoun would have stayed on that lower side with the great potential and possibility to have broken out into, ideally a similar semifinal opportunity for the 4 teams that were involved in it. Obviously, there's some other teams out there that probably could have played fits. We saw a good KZ Westfield team. Obviously, up here, a lot of people would like to know, what could have happened had Forston and Galena not been paired up with Lena Winslow and Stockton in the first round. I think there's a lot of truth to that. GCMS, Anawan Weathersfield, had they not had to run into, Lena Winslow, could they have gotten further if they were in a different part of the
G&W in there.
Yeah, of course.
G&W, I'll throw them in there.
Yeah, their defense was lights out. We talked about that. I mean, offensively, they kind of didn't have what we've seen out of recent years, but defensively, like you said earlier this year, very stingy, and they were. And they played some top teams very, very tough defensively. And, no doubt about it. I mean, they took you guys right to the brink again in the playoffs. So
twice.
Yeah. So, I don't know what it is, but Coach Joey Pembroke definitely gets the most out of those kids. That's for sure.
He does a great job.
He does. Back to what we were getting at, though. 2 of the top 5 teams definitely here, as we had projected before. Obviously, both these teams had to take down favorites in order to avenge losses and get here. Like we said, Calhoun was a slight favorite over Brown County the second time around, had beat them in week 9. Stockton was a slight favorite over Lena Winslow, had beat them convincingly back in week 2. And here we are. Last week, Aiden Wild, 244 yards on 33 attempts with 2 touchdowns. Alex Schlichting, 15 attempts, 63 yards with 2 touchdowns. Brown County on the ground, 39 attempts, 141 yards. Trey Fullerton had 22 attempts for 99 yards and a touchdown. And like you said, Logan, their defense, 4 turnovers once again. It's how they got through Camp Point Central. It's how they get through Brown County. 15 total turnovers forced in the playoffs. You were at the game. You got to see it firsthand. I know you don't want to talk about it much because it's still pain to your heart, but on a professional standpoint, give us your viewpoints on Brown County.
Offensively, it's nothing that no one has ever seen. It's double wing. It's wing T style offense. It's mainly double wing stuff. They'll go wing T probably 25 to 30% of their plays, if I had to guess, but it's mainly double wing stuff that they do it out of. It's your fullback blast, your fullback ISOs, sweeps, jet sweeps. It's stuff like that. And counter that within kind of your wing T style passing offense that you can incorporate into that. With Vince Little, he does a great job. I hate using the term game manager because some people see it as a slight. I do not see it as a slight to him at all. He is a perfect quarterback back there for what they do. He's great at it. He handles that system great, and you can just see how far he's come. So he's a great quarterback. Defensively, they're as good as I told you last week. I said I think they're as good as they come defensively, and I mean you said it, Coach. You said Coach Aaron said it. He said they make Lena Winslow look small, and that's a feat in itself on the line. They're big, they're aggressive. They got really good overall team speed with their athletes. I do wonder how this game will be decided in the trenches like it always is. This is where I've always felt that the NUIC and the WIVC has always differed. Where I feel is I have always felt the skill guys for the WIVC is right there on par, could be better, could be slightly worse. I'm not here to argue that with the NUIC, and I think most people would tend to agree with that statement. The difference has always been the line play. The one time we saw a WIVC team in recent memory beat an NUIC team in the state final with that Camp Point team. That Camp Point team, even though they weren't very big on the offensive line, they used their speed to their advantage with it, and they created push for Elijah Ginnenbacher that day. So that is what it will come down to. Now that line was much smaller than this Brown County line. This Brown County line is a little bit bigger,
A little.
a lot bigger. So yeah, I think I was being generous. So I'll be interested to see, because Coach Aaron said they make Lena Winslow look small, so that's a feat in itself, especially with what people consider about Lena Winslow. So they're as good as you come. They're no different than any team that they have seen this year, or that Lena Winslow has seen this year, with their style of offense and what they do. The only difference is they come from the southern half of the state.
Yeah, I definitely like what Brown County has. I like the fact that they are a wing T style offense. As you know, that's one of my favorite offenses because of the amount of different schemes that you can run out of that. On top of that, if you're undersized as well, it helps with the blocking schemes that go in a wing T offense as well to open up other possibilities. And as you stated, size isn't always a factor. If you are strong and you are fast, you can beat a bigger person. Exactly how Camp Point Central won in 2023. They were just faster to the ball. They beat Lena Winslow basically at their own game, and they were just absolutely relentless. They met physicality with physicality, and obviously they set this whole thing in motion now to where people are starting to believe that other teams can also take down Lena Winslow, which has never not been part of what we thought could happen. Let's be honest. Yes, they're on a run right now, and yes, they've been the state the last 6 years, and they've lost the last 2. But on top of that, they lost in 2018 when they were the favorite. They went into the 2015 playoffs ranked number 1 in state and got upset. I felt like they were one of the favorites in 2014. They battled some injuries, and then they had the lead late in the game, and all they had to do was get a first down and run out clock and seal it up, and they fumbled the ball and lost the game. And that was coming off of a state championship year that year. So there's definitely ways or other opportunities where Lena Winslow's had some great teams. 2011's another one that was definitely a state championship caliber team that suffered from a key injury to a key player, and they tried to battle back. And in the playoff game, just like the first time around, they got the lead, but they just couldn't sustain it enough. And but hats off to Lee Win and their program and their staff. They do things the right way. The expectations are so high that it's getting to the point where people are tired of hearing about Lena Winslow because they continue to do what they do. And like I said, on the instant reacts, I like dynasties because it's harder to sustain the type of success that they've had over that course of time, especially when you're bringing in different players. You might have a couple carryovers from year to year, but by year 3, you have a whole different team there. It's not the same team, right? And even year to year, it's a different team because you still have guys that are graduating and moving on that you still have to replace and find other people to fill that spot. So when you're talking about dynasties, I think it's a lot of fun because of what you can do. And, like in 2A with Wilmington, I would classify what they're doing right now as a dynasty that can continue to build. I think Byron's in the same talk. They've definitely been at an elite level the last few years. And again, reaching the state championship for the 3rd time in 5 years. And they were, this is actually the 5th time in 7 years for Byron to be in the state championship game. So, yeah, I like the fact that you have that. And then even in 2A on the other side of the ball, Merle Forsyth, I mean, they've been on basically a decade-long or better 15-year dynasty run. I mean, they're making their 10th trip to the state championship game since 2006. but it's their ninth since 2009. So they went back to back in
That's
09 and
insane.
10. They went again in 12. They went in 14. They went in 16, 17, 18. And then they were there again last year and now again this year. And even the year before that, they were in the semifinals and lost. So they're always knocking on that door. And I think I looked it up. They were at like 73 or 74 playoff wins for Memorial Forsyth. So there's a lot of great legacies here. Tolono Unity is another one. They're back in the state championship game for the second time in 5 years. And this is their 7th trip to the state championship. So really the Lone Ranger here is Brown County. They're making their first trip to the state championship game.
I was
But
gonna say I hate to pick on them, but
they have the pedigree, right? I mean, we got the stats in here updated for Brown County. Go ahead and give us some of those stats, Logan.
I got you. Let's scroll down here. So rushing wise, you got Trey Fullerton, who on 158 attempts this year has 815 yards with 17 touchdowns. Jack Sefton, 54 for 687 with 11 touchdowns. Eli Staten, 89 for 583 with 6 touchdowns. And then Brody Phelps is added in 35 for 418 with 2 touchdowns. I do know that Brody had missed some time this year and he was injured, so I would, if he wasn't, his numbers would be up there with the likes of Sefton and Staten, which they already are. He's done that on 35 carries all year. Bo Little, 24 for 334 for 5 touchdowns, and then Tegan Hohenberry, 36 for 201 with 2 touchdowns. Obviously, Vince has been great this year. Like I said, he's 51 for 93, 11 touchdowns, 734 yards with just 1 interception for a 55% completion percentage. And then I'll just go through his main targets. Brody Phelps, 8 for 156 through the airs with 1 touchdown. Bo, his brother, 9 for 141 for 2 touchdowns. If I was just doing a scouting report, that's the guy I'd watch out for. Him and Bo got a pretty good connection for pretty obvious reasons. Bradley Market, 7 for 85 yards with 1 touchdown. And then Sefton with 5 for 81 with 2 touchdowns. And Micah Henry, 6 for 73 with 2 touchdowns. So
hold on.
They spread the ball out fairly well. I mean,
You're telling me a brotherly connection is good?
Yeah.
Surprise,
I can tell you
right?
firsthand that they got some good chemistry out there.
Not a surprise.
Some good chemistry.
Not a surprise.
No. Not at all.
Yeah, I'm very interested in this game, obviously for a lot of reasons. You know, I've come to be friends with Trent Harrelson over the time. What's that?
I said you got some emotional connections in this one. You got some friendships.
Do. Trent Harrelson, I got to know over the last decade. You know, he went to McMurray College, which is also where I'm an alum from. Obviously from Carrollton, played in the 2014 state championship game against Forreston. Jared Hoots, another MAC alum who obviously was one of my teammates in college. So I love Hoots to death. And I can't wait to get down there and see him because last time we saw each other was probably
baseball state championship.
It was in Jacksonville, I think in like 2018 at a McMurray Webster game. And we were back visiting the campus and whatnot. Obviously a much further drive for me to be there than it was for Hoots to be there, but regardless, still fun all the same. And his twins were obviously a lot smaller now. I think they're in junior high now, 7th or 8th grade, I believe. But, it's great to see him be able to get there. You know, he's the head baseball coach as well. So he got Brown County to the state championship game for the first time in school history back in 2022. He's the defensive coordinator on this team, helping guide the Hornets back to a state championship for the first time in school history in football.
There you go.
So definitely have some personal connection there. Last week I got to spend some time with Coach Jim Unruh and his son John at the 8-man state championship games. And of course, we started talking about Tom Little and we started talking about Coach Klein and, it's great to see them, and of course, Coach Unruh was in attendance in Hardin for that game against Calhoun as well with Brown County this past weekend. So he was there watching that game live, and of course, it brought up some emotional times for him too to see some of his uh, air proponents be able to get their team back to the state championship. And you take a look at Brown County's history. They this is their 20th playoff appearance. 18 of them have come under the guidance of Coach Tom Little. So really, they didn't have much of a program before Coach Little got there. He was knocking on the door in 2010 and 2011, and some team called Tuscola was the nemesis at the time. So now this was their first semifinal appearance since 2011, and now he booked that ticket. So, as much as I told you last week, I don't want to see you in the press box, but if I have to see you in the press box, it'll be okay. I was really in a win-win situation here, no matter which way it went. And, I'm very proud of Hoots and Trenton. And I don't know Coach Little, but I'm happy for him too and his staff for being able to get over the hump. I know whoever runs the Twitter account for the Sting Squad, they follow me religiously. And I love their support as well. I just wish I knew who ran that account, but,
I'll get that
regardless,
to you. I know who runs it.
okay. Regardless, it's cool, it's one of those things where you want to see these
Yeah,
good stories, and I'm excited for this matchup because you have very similar styles, and in a little bit we'll go through the projections. I'm not going to give my pick. We're going to save that for the live show
same.
on Friday, but um, I am interested to see this game up front and watch it unfold and see what happens because the NUIC and the WIVC, it's the fourth time in 5 years we've had this matchup at state. And the NUIC is 1-4 or 4-1 against the WIVC. So the WIVC has that one title in 2023. Can they get two? That's going to be the question. And when you talk about small school football, these are definitely two of the greatest conferences, especially in 1A football historically as well. So that drives to being even more fun to watch this matchup take place.
Yep, for sure. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, I'd be lying in just lying if I didn't say I wish it was me down there, but I can live with the fact that it's another WIVC team there. It's not the Metro East All Stars. So
No
I
shit.
can I can live with the fact that I'm rooting for a WIVC team.
Yeah. So, speaking of, coaches and interviews, obviously our friends Greg and Mitch at View from the West put out coaches interviews. And they're on their YouTube. You can also find them on our Facebook page, our X page, their X page. It doesn't matter. But they did interview both Coach Rick Aaron and Coach Tom Little. So if you have not seen those yet, please go out and take a look at that. They did a great job putting those together, as they did across Class 2A and 3A as well, covering with Josh Jostis and Jeff Rinks, and then Tony Reitz and Jeff Boyer. So good stuff, as always, put on by Mitch and Greg when it comes to that. And, the state championship week's always a ton of fun, but looking at the opponent, though, Brown County's going to have to find a way to stop Wild and Schlichting. Both these guys have rushed, well, Wild's just shy of 3,500 yards and will probably get over 3,500. And, Schlichting is over 3,500 yards. He's over 3,600 yards in his career. So both these backs, very dynamic, have had great careers. Wild is at 2,026 yards on the season with 32 touchdowns on 242 attempts, 8.4 yards per carry average. Schlichting, 134 attempts, 1,459 yards, 19 touchdowns, 10.9 yards per carry. A couple other guys have been able to get some playing time, but don't get a bulk of time. Ashton Gerber, 40 attempts, 349 yards, 3 touchdowns, and Ian Geisman, 23 attempts, 244 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Another back to that will be in the starting lineup is Kobe Kearns, 18 attempts for 101 yards and 4 touchdowns. So doesn't get a lot of carries, but does a great job of getting off the ball and getting out in front and helping block for these guys as well. So, really an undervalued position, but he does it very well. Offensively, I did not put Cash Lessman stats in here. I did actually, but for some reason they didn't save. But he is 12 for 21 passing for 221 yards, 4 touchdowns to 1 interception. So don't expect to see Lena Winslow passing much, but if push comes to shove, they have the capabilities of doing it and could do it. Leading target, Miles Mann, 4 receptions, 122 yards. 4 of those receptions, 2 of them gone for touchdowns. Schlichting has 3 receptions for 78 yards. 2 of those have gone for touchdowns. Kobe Kearns has 1 reception on the year for 22 yards. That came just this past week in a critical 3rd down situation that eventually led to their touchdown to go up 2 scores as well. So, and then Jaden Schubert, 2 receptions for 49 yards. Obviously, they're tight ends, Mann and Schubert. Both of them are like 6'2", 6'1", 210 pounds. So good-sized bodied kids that are going to get out there and play physical and do a great job of getting on their blocks and holding them through to help get these backs to the second level. Obviously, defensively, Mann
Those
is...
are extra tackles.
What's that?
Those are extra offensive tackles. I said those are extra offensive tackles.
Yeah, basically, they are. And Mann's the leader on the defensive side of the ball too. I mean, he's an honorable mention All-Stater for a reason. His older brother Brody Mann was an All-Stater when them and Carrollton met up back in 2022, right? Or was it 21?
Where's 21?
It was 21. You're right, because
22 was Camp Point.
Camp Point. So, yeah, Brody Mann was on that 21 team that played Carrollton. He was an All-Stater that year as well. The cool thing about this year's team, too, is younger brother Merrick Mann is also one of the starting linebackers playing right next to Miles. So, no better way of learning than from your big brother, right? But, I said it back in the preview show back in August. I said Mann's going to be one of the guys to watch defensively because he's going to come at you like a missile, and his projection and growth style definitely matched what Brody had done going from his junior year into his senior year as well. And Miles has definitely lived up to that billing, and it's been a lot of fun to watch as well. So Brown County's gonna have to find ways to get helmets on some of these linebackers in the second level, where they're going to have a long day ahead of them because they won't find much room to run on. If Vince Little can get some passing going, that tends to be somewhat of Lena Winslow's kryptonite. But they did do a great job this past week holding Stockton somewhat in check. They were able to force Noah Larson into quite a few errant throws, forcing them to go 10 for 19 on the day. Still an efficient day nonetheless, but not as efficient as we had come to expect out of Noah as well. But, I felt that the Lena Winslow pass defense definitely looked a lot better this time around. And perhaps they learned a few things and were able to do some things differently that helped slow down that passing attack that Stockton had too.
It's going to be hard to catch a football on Friday morning. Don't know if anyone's looked at the weather. It's going to be quite chilly.
It's going to be big boy football. It's going to be great.
It's going to be run the football weather.
It's press box season. I'm fine.
I love it.
All right.
That's what I was thinking.
Here's a look at the tail of the tape. If you paid attention to our social media pages, they're already out there. But both teams come in. Lena Winslow, 12-1 record, making their 9th trip to the state championship game. 6 state titles, 2 runner-ups. They're making their 31st first playoff appearance. This is their 27th consecutive playoff appearance. They're averaging 40.3 points per game, 14.9 points allowed per game. As you can see, the path that they got here through round one was Forreston 48-22. Round two was GCMS 43-14. Round three, Anawan Wethersfield 42-20. And round four, Stockton 30-16. On the other side, Brown County 11-2. Their first trip to state. This is their 20th playoff appearance, averaging 36.2 points per game to allowing just 8.5 points a game on the season. Their path to get here was round one through Athens, 48-0. Round two was an avenged game win over Camp Point Central, 16-8. Round three, Carrollton, 37-13. And then round four, another avenged loss to Calhoun, 14-13. And, last night when I was on the View from the West podcast going over the semifinal previews, what Brown County has done this year reminded me a lot of what Dakota in 2011 did. Dakota also entered those playoffs 7-2. They had to get back through three consecutive conference opponents to get to the state championship, just like Brown County has here. And albeit they had to beat Lena Winslow for a second time in 3 weeks. Then they had to avenge a loss to Forreston. Then they had to avenge a loss to Aquin in order to book their trip to face Tuscola, who, by the way, is 0-3 in state championship games against the NUIC as well. Just throwing that out there. The Brown County path and like you said, the line size, Dakota back in 2011 had the largest average line size across all 8 classes. Brown County's got a huge line like we talked about.
They're big boys. They make large people look small, to put it lightly. Obviously the one that will grab the most attention, I can't remember all their names, forgive me, but the one that will grab the most attention is number 77. That is Cooper Addix. I believe that is how you pronounce his last name, is Addix, not Adcox, for reference. He's a large lad. He's the one who blew up the 2-point conversion to try and take the lead with 15 seconds or whatever it was last week in the fourth quarter. He's a good football player. He started for him both ways last year, and he's gotten better this year, both offensively and defensively, especially. So they present issues with their size, and if they can draw double teams and keep linebackers free, they give themselves a chance, especially to prevent some of the long runs that you might see from Wild or Schlichting.
Well, Schlichting's the one that they're going to have to worry about the most as far as getting long runs. I mean, he is the speed to...
He's a home run threat.
To Wild's thunder, right? He's the lightning to the thunder. And obviously he's one of the fastest kids in the state in Class 1A. I mean, he finished second in the 100-meter dash. So, and he was fifth in the 200. So, yeah, definitely a lot of speed there. And he's 5'9" and 150 pounds, but don't let his size fool you. He plays very tough. All you got to do is go back and look at some film on him last week when he trucked over Noah Larson at the goal line. He's not afraid to get into some physical contact either, which just breeds out of what we're used to seeing from Lena Winslow. But
I remember him being from last year.
What's that?
I said, I remember last year against Althoff. I was like, this kid can play.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, he's definitely a baller. Yeah, I got to play against his dad in high school. He was pretty much the same way. Probably not as fast as Alec, but very, very, very physical player he was. Anyway, like I said, we'll save our picks for later. We'll come back and take a look at projections. But we're going to move on to Class 2A when we return right after this. Need a logo, website, or standout graphic design? Check out Nick at Volkert Design. your go-to for high-impact branding and design solutions. With over 20 years of experience serving businesses across Northern Illinois and Chicagoland, Nick delivers best-in-class websites, logos, and graphics that get noticed. Whether you're a startup or an established name, Volkert Design brings your vision to life. Visit Volkert.design today to see the difference top-tier design makes. Are you looking to raise funds for your program? Look no further than Leading Edge Fundraising, helping teams and programs raise more with less hassle. Whether you're gearing up for a new season or trying to hit a financial goal, Leading Edge has the tools, products, and experience to get you there. From youth clubs to varsity programs, they've helped teams across Illinois maximize profits and minimize stress. Want fundraising that actually works? Go with the local experts who know how to win off the field too. Contact Brandon at 563-514-1647. Leading Edge Fundraising, raising the standard. Reach out today and take your program to the next level. Logan, we're going to move into Class 2A where we have the Wilmington Wildcats entering at 12-1. They are taking on the Maroa Forsyth Trojans, who enter at 11-2. And you couldn't ask for more contrasting styles of a game between these two opponents. And then on top of that, just the amount of state title games that these two teams have been in collectively. Obviously, Maroa Forsyth is making their 12th trip to state. My graphics messed up. I did forget their 1981 and 1983 trips. So anybody that's seen my graphic, I apologize. I did forget those two trips. They lost to Ackwen in 81. They also lost in 83. So they've been there a total of 11 times. This is their 12th time. They've won 2 state titles. They have 7 runner-ups. But on top of that, Wilmington's making their 5th trip. So collectively, these two teams are making their 17th trips, or 17 trips combined between these two teams to the state championship game. Also 5 state titles collectively between the two teams. So clearly somebody's walking away with another state title this time around, and somebody's walking away with a runner-up. And there's a lot that can be said on that, but we won't go there. Regardless, you have Wilmington that is going to run a double wing, tight style offense that we've been able to see at the state level in 21 and 23 in recent years. They kind of changed things up just a little bit. In years past, it was more of that Delaware double wing where the quarterback would pitch the ball and then turn themselves right into one of the lead blockers going through the hole. This year, their quarterback is Billy Moore, and he's definitely one of the guys that helps lead this offensive attack along with Hunter Kachuk and Ryan Kettman. And, it's something that we haven't seen out of Wilmington much before, to some degree, but not to the degree that they're doing it this year. And, hats off to Billy Moore for what he's done. Obviously, Ryan Kettman has had a big day, a big year on top of that, and a big career as well. I mean, he was a starter on that 2023 state championship team just as a sophomore. Obviously was a key back last year for them on their 3A semifinal run where they lost to Montini. And now again this year, definitely living up to and surpassing the expectations. He is 2 touchdowns away from tying the school record for most rushing touchdowns in a career. Obviously 3 touchdowns away from setting a new school record there as well. All-time points, he is 3rd in Wilmington history as well. So definitely a legacy athlete with a legendary career here for Mr. Ryan Kettman as well. Thoughts on Wilmington, Logan?
They're pretty good. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
They've only clocked every opponent they've played in the postseason. Their only loss is to a Morris team who just got lombarded last week. So they're all right. They're pretty good.
Did you say lombarded?
Yes, we're turning
Yeah,
Montini
I
into
know.
we're turning it into a verb or adjective, whichever one.
I knew where you were going there. Yeah, that was a game I was definitely intrigued by. Was
That was week 1.
definitely hoping Morris would play Montini a little bit closer in that, but regardless, it was a great run for Morris, and obviously speaks volumes to the level of where Wilmington is at as a program as well, especially with the strength of
Yeah.
their record and where they're at, and like you said, just dominating their way through these Class 2A state playoffs.
Yeah, it's insane. And like for people who criticize, oh, wing T, double wing style offenses are just boring and they don't help players get to the next level or develop. I hate to break it to you. Wilmington has thrown 5 passes all year for 48 yards, and I think that is beautiful. 5 passes for 48 yards all year. It's crazy, and I love it.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. Like you said, Billy Moore, 4 for 5 passing, 48 yards. So an 80% clip. Obviously not a lot of yards on those passes,
Efficient.
but still it's like a 10-yard per completion average. Yeah, very, very efficient for
It's
the
insane.
minimal time that they use it.
They don't
Another
need to.
interesting note, though, these guys have ran for over 5,600 yards this year. Technically, they're at 5,673 yards. And taking a look at those records, they sit 4th
They'll
all
get to
time right
6.
now currently in IHSA history for most rushing yards in a season. With that, they are also very much within striking distance of that 2023 Byron team that rushed for 5,767 yards. So, provided that they hit their averages, they're going to blow by Byron, and they have a great opportunity to meet or surpass the 2016 Peoria team that rushed for 6,148 yards. And if they do that, they'll set themselves up to be the second team in IHSA history with the most rushing yards. Obviously, that record is held by Joliet Catholic from 2007 with 6,609 rushing yards. And you know, my cousin's wife's brother was one of the linebackers on that Joliet Catholic State Championship team in 2007. So, what a dominating year that the Hilltoppers had. That's going to be a hard record to beat. But where this Wilmington team's projecting, obviously, one of the greatest offensive performances all time in IHSA history. Along with that, they also are going to be up there as one of the most dominant 2A teams in state history as well.
Yeah, it's. I don't really don't know if I can think of words to describe it other than just utter like there's it's just utter domination. And we talked about it all year that if Wilmington slides into 2A, they instantly become your heavy 2A favorite, and it's everybody else. And that has proven to really be the case so far this year. Um, we'll see if Maroa can present challenges to them that they haven't seen yet. But not to bring it up, but 2 years ago in 2023 when they played in the semifinals, it did not go well for said Maroa up at Wilmington that day. So they, looking at the numbers, and we'll talk about the projection later, but they got their work cut out for them on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, I mean they're sitting on 600 points scored. Obviously, that 2023 Byron team put up 823 points, which set the new record that was
That's insane.
previously set by Peoria back in 2016. You know, they're going to have to put up 73 points to matched the 20th spot in IHSA history, which was the 99 Byron team that was led by Sean Considine and Jeff Boyer when they were still in players in high school. And then right above them is the 2019 Lena Winslow team with 678 points scored. So, yes, they're definitely gonna be one of the most accomplished Class 2A teams in state history. We might not see them in all of the record categories, but what they're doing right now is definitely one of the more historical runs that we've seen in Class 2A ever. And, to be a part of that has to be very exciting for Wilmington. On the other side of the ball, though, you have this other team called Maroa Forsyth, and they're no strangers to the state championship level. They're led by Ryan Shepard, who, through 13 games, 210 completions, 290 attempts, 3,188 yards, 41 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. Also has rushed the ball 120 times for 759 yards and another 17 touchdowns. So Mr. Shepard is 31 yards away from going over 4,000 total yards on the season. He's also thrown for 84 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions in his career. And he has over 6,000 yards passing, and obviously still counting on that. Isaiah Bowman leads the state in all classes and tackles. And then Zach Smith has broken 1,000 yards receiving in back-to-back years. He's already Maroa Forsyth's all-time leader in catches, yards, and touchdowns. And he currently sits at 1,972 yards receiving with, it's hard to read some of these numbers, but I think that's 22 touchdowns. So definitely putting up some big numbers there for Zach Smith as well.
I just did the math because I was curious. Ryan Shepard TD to interception ratio is 21-1 for anyone curious. For every 21 touchdowns he has, he throws 1 interception. That's insane.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely had a legendary career.
That's a great career.
And last year he went into the state championship game with a broken collarbone. And yes, they got beat by Chicago Christian 47-0, but imagine being a quarterback playing in a state championship game and you have a broken collarbone. I mean, obviously he wasn't 100%, but obviously the kid's tough and he's got guts. And
that's some grit.
Yeah, I mean, that tells you about the character of the kid there. I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't other kids out there that haven't done this type of stuff, but I mean, he's the quarterback. And, he
kind of need a collarbone.
Well, that, and, not only is he need to be able to throw the ball, but he's also one of their leading rushers. And this year he is their leading rusher. I mean, the other rushing attack comes from Waters, who has 117 carries for 651 yards and 8 touchdowns. So, realistically, Wilmington needs to find a way to shut down number 2. And if they can't shut down number 2, they're going to have a hard time stopping this offense because, efficiency-wise, Shepard is very efficient passing the ball. I mean, his completion percentage is 73%, I believe. 72.4%. It's like I said last night on the View from the West podcast. You have to be able to get some quick hitters in there. They're going to rely on power run out of the spread, while also setting up quick screens and potentially slants. But if they're going to be quick screens, they have to really be quick hitting because Wilmington does a great job of reading those little screen passes. They don't bite on a lot of stuff. They play very fundamental defense. They know their responsibilities and they play them very well. And then on top of that, they're a very good tackling team in the open field, which is exactly what Coach Joseph and Merle Forsyth want to do. They want to be able to get you out in the open field to make you miss. And if you miss, now you're setting yourself up for giving up a big play. And we saw a lot of that back in the 2017 and 2018 state championship games when they did that against GCMS. And those were two great state championship games back then. If Merle Forsyth can replicate that and put this thing into more of a shootout type style, I think we're going to have a good game. If Merle Forsyth can't stop the offensive line or the defensive lines up front, both offensively and defensively, they're in for a long day because Wilmington's just going to pound it right down their throats and not look back.
Yeah. You know what this... I'm not making the exact comparison, and it's not the exact same of how their offenses were run. This game kind of reminds me of 21 Lena versus 21 Carrollton, with how the offense revolved around Grant Pullman at quarterback, and then obviously just Wilmington being a power run team. To me, that is the exact comparison I think of when just viewing it. Obviously, the stats, throwing wise, for Maroa and that Carrollton team, much different. Carrollton was much more reliant on Grant on the ground, but it's just a quick comparison that pops out to me when thinking about this game.
Oh, totally agree there. So let's take a look at the tail of the tape on this one, and there you have it. There, like I said, Wilmington 12-1, 5 trips to state, 3 state titles, 1 runner-up. That 1 runner-up comes back in 2003. Playoff appearances. This is their 32nd trip. They've scored, on average, 46.2 points per game while allowing 7.3 points per game. Their road to state, round 1, West Hancock, they won 70-8, 42-0 over Seneca, 49-7 over Tri-Valley, and 41-0 over El Paso Gridley. So realistically, they probably went through 3 of the toughest teams in that 2A North bracket to get here. So, I mean, we talked about it back in the preseason. We felt like 2A was going to be down this year, but it was going to bring a lot more parity. And parity, I think we've seen, but then in week 2, we said if Wilmington drops into 2A, as you stated, Logan, they were going to become the heavy favorite, and they are. And, they're going to be a heavy favorite again this week in Normal. And these two teams last met up in the semifinals in 2023. Wilmington won that game 42-7. On the sorry,
Wilmington's pretty good.
Yeah. On the other side of the ball, Merle Forsyth 11-2. Like I said, the graphic's wrong. It's actually 12 trips to the state championship game, 2 state titles, 9 runner-ups. This is their 30th appearance in the playoffs. 43.2 points per game while allowing 16.1 points per game. And their path to state went through Chester in round 1, 26-14. Johnston City in round 2, 41-6. Flora in round 3, 48-12. And Allah in round 4, 28-6. So, again, they had Johnston City, they had Allah, which were both undefeated teams at the time. Flora was definitely our Cinderella story, and the glass slipper got lost on the way through Maroa and sent Flora home. But Chester gave them a good competition there in the first round, but outside of that, they really haven't faced a whole lot of competition.
Resistance.
Yeah. And, it's hard to say. It's one of those things where, with 2 great programs like these two are, you hope that this game will be close, but we'll go over the projections here in a little bit. Like I said, on the 1A game, we'll go through it on the 2A game as well. But yeah, Wilmington enters this game as a huge favorite. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about Class 3A.
Hey there, local high school football fans. This is Sean Considine, a Byron Tiger and Iowa Hawkeye alumni, and now an LPL financial advisor. I'm passionate about high school football because it's the purest form of the game where communities come together, lifelong character is built, and the love for football runs deeper than the scoreboard. You can find me in my Byron office most days until I run off to football practice. I'm happy to talk about football or the markets. I'll leave that up to you. I want to wish everyone across Illinois a safe, successful, and memorable high school football season. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
Life comes with a lot of big decisions, from protecting your home and family to planning for the future. That's where Tyler Hoffman with Country Financial comes in. As a local agent, Tyler knows our community and is committed to helping you build a plan that's right for you. Give Tyler Hoffman a call today at 815-248-2188 or stop by his office in Durand. Tyler Hoffman with Country Financial, protecting what matters most. Logan, the last game we're going to talk about is that Class 3A matchup where we have the Byron Tigers taking on the Unity Rockets. Obviously, when the brackets broke out, these two teams were definitely two of the favorites to get to the state championship. I think Unity was definitely the heavy favorite out of the South Side, and it was whoever could really win the Byron IC Catholic matchup, and Byron left no doubt in that one. And Byron comes in at 13-0. Unity enters at 12-1. Again, this is going to be a game with two historical teams with two totally different styles of play. Byron's going to come in running a wing T style offense. Unity's going to come in running their traditional spread style offense. Similar style to what you see Moreau Forsyth do. They're going to run spread, multiple formations, add some RPOs to the stuff. The difference is that they do have a big-time quarterback here in D2 Central Missouri commit, Dane Eisenmenger. And, when you take a look at Eisenmenger, he has 165 completions for 238 yards, 238 attempts, 2,907 yards, 32 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. So there you go again, Logan. Not a lot of touchdowns to very few interceptions. So a good ratio there. In the backfield for him, he has Crew Eckstein, 218 carries, 1,626 yards, 24 touchdowns. Eisenmenger himself has also ran the ball 61 times for 364 yards and 9 touchdowns as well. And then offensively at the receiver spots, you have Trey Hoggard and Tyler Henry. Hoggard, 56 receptions, 1,133 yards, 16 touchdowns. Henry, 58 receptions, 1,082 yards, and 11 touchdowns. So, offensively, he's got some targets. He's got two good receivers there that he definitely hits well with. He's got a good running back in Crew Eckstein. And then, of course, you have the versatility of the quarterback himself in Eisenmenger that can get out and run when needed, but he can also throw the ball and sling it very well at a high efficiency rate.
And it's a fairly balanced offense, which if you're gonna run a spread style offense and still run the ball, this is like picture perfect to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, you have to be able to do that, right, in order to find success. And
They found it.
Yeah, and Unity was one of those teams knocking on the door last year. They were the favorite in the semifinal match. They got upset by Monticello. This time they had to go back through Monticello again. Almost got upset, but were able to hold on this time around. But then they go into a shootout with St. Joe Ogden as well, who they had beat handily back in the regular season. And then they come out and they have a big game there. leading to a 51-44 win for the Rockets. But yeah, I think this too is going to create a lot of intrigue, because the other side of the ball, you have the Byron Tigers, and there you have, like you said, Andrew Talbert. He's only a junior. He's a North Carolina commit now for baseball. You have Caden Considine at running back, who is probably going to take the preferred walk-on offer. He's had other college offers, but he's probably going to take the preferred walk-on offer to Iowa. Talbert has thrown the ball 42 times, 23 completions, 487 yards, 10 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. So clearly they don't throw the ball much, but when they do, it's effective. Considine, 143 carries, 1,749 yards, 33 touchdowns. Dawson Criddle, 76 carries, 762 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Talbert, 65 carries, 528 yards, and 9 touchdowns. And then they also have Cole Aiken back in the mix, who just came back in the first round of the playoffs. 23 carries, 188 yards, and 3 touchdowns so far in the playoffs. So he's definitely making himself useful. Landon Bonvalet is a sophomore standout who has done a lot of great things for Byron in a lot of different spots as well, both defensively and offensively. Receiving-wise, he has 4 receptions, 141 yards. All 4 of those receptions he's taken to the house. Considine, 9 receptions, 164 yards with 2 touchdowns. Criddle, 4 receptions, 81 yards and a touchdown. Weston Walker has 3 receptions for 60 yards and a touchdown. And then J.J. Edmondson, 3 receptions for 51 yards and a touchdown. And we really don't hear J.J. Edmondson's name much offensively, but defensively, he's going to be a huge playmaker in that defensive backfield, especially against a team like Unity. They're going to need that kind of play in order to slow down this passing attack with Eisenmenger slinging the ball around to guys like Hoggard and Henry.
Yeah, this is a fun match. This is fun. Obviously, I wish Coach Hamilton was still coaching. I wish this was his Sunrise season. The Calhoun part of me wants him to wish he would have got one as a head coach. So that part stings. But looking at this year, this Tulane team, we said they were the favorite in the South when it broke out, and they got here. We felt that way about Byron and IC Catholic, whoever won that one, and Byron, like you said, left no doubt. I think if there were, before we look at the projections, but if there was a game to me that I think would be closer than the projections this week, I feel like this could be the one that does it if Tolono gets out and going.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think of all 3 games, this one has 2 opportunities. It can either be a blowout or a shootout. If it's a blowout, it's going to be Byron all day. If it's a shootout, Unity has an opportunity, much like Williamsville and Monticello did back in 2018 and 19, to take down the Giant. And let's be honest, Byron is the Giant. Like we said before, 5th trip to state in the last 7 seasons. The last 5 years, they've had to either go through or go against either Montini or IC Catholic in order to get to the state championship game. Obviously, in 2021, they got through IC Catholic. 2023 or 2022, they lost to IC Catholic. 2023, they got through Montini. 2024, they lost to Montini. This year, they got through IC Catholic again. So, it's not the first time that they've had to play the Catholic powers to be, but at the same time, they have risen up when they've needed to and have been able to play tough games against them. I mean, before this run started, they had met up in the semifinals even, and IC Catholic won that one 7-0. And I think a lot of people then thought that IC Catholic was going to run all over Byron. And Byron was there, but they just couldn't do it. And of course, in 2022, they did lose to IC Catholic 35-0. But they kind of returned that favor this year with that 28-6 win here back in the quarterfinals as well. So they definitely they play tough football, obviously, and I like this Unity team. I've been following a lot of these guys for a while, and of course, quite a few of them follow me, like Eisenmanger and Henry, and probably a couple other those guys. But I definitely stay in tuned with what's going on. I've been able to talk to Coach Reitz a couple different times via email, and he's always been very friendly and appreciative of getting coverage where we can, when we can, how we can. But on top of that, any request I've put out to him, he's been great in handling that. And he himself has a great story. I mean, obviously, he's been a longtime assistant for Tolono Unity under Scott Hamilton, took over the head job this year. But, after the end of the football season last year, he had to have brain surgery. So he had to go through all of that and the recovery process to get back to where he's at now, back on the sidelines and leading his team to a state championship. So, talk about having to go through adversity and then be able to challenge yourself to step up to the rehab and the abilities to get back to your normal ways of life speaks volumes into what these kids also have to go through or see him go through. And then to me, it would create a higher level. Hey, if coach can go through that stuff, I can go through anything that he's asking me to do, because if he's that tough, then I can be that tough too.
Yeah, that makes buy-in a little easier when you see people persevere, when you see, whether it be a teammate or a coach or someone in even in your community, when you see someone persevere through something like that, it can become just a rallying cry for a whole school, a whole team, whole community, and it makes for a great story.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Taking a look at Byron too, just to go through some of the numbers that Caden Considine has put up. His career, 4,737 yards rushing, 75 touchdowns, which is tied for 19th all-time in I8FA history. He's also averaging 9.6 yards per carry for his career. It's one of those things where it would have been nice not to see him get hurt last year, because obviously he would have put up much
I was thinking
larger numbers than the 513 yards that he rushed for, along with the 6 touchdowns. I mean, you go back to his sophomore year, he ran for 1,630 yards and 27 touchdowns. This year, he's rushed for 1,749 yards and 33 touchdowns. I would be willing to bet that his numbers could be a lot higher had he not suffered those injuries early on and sat out those games early to mid-season last year. But at the same time, and then they nursed him back, rightfully so, because they were definitely expecting to make a deeper run in the playoffs. And how could you not, right? I mean, you were coming off of a state championship and you were one of the favorites, and you played Montini, who was the big monster that dropped into 3A that year, or the year before. You beat him, and this year you had to play him. And so, you felt confident going into that game, knowing what you had, knowing what they had. And, unfortunately, that was a game that they lost, going for 2, and came up like half an inch or so short of the goal line. And obviously we saw what Montini did at state. It did lead to a great thing from Monticello. Our buddy kind of vanished, though. I haven't seen much out of him this year after the early parts of the season. But they still won the
I
fourth
missed that
quarter.
Twitter
They
account.
still won the fourth quarter.
they did win the fourth quarter. That was an all-time run. That was an all-time run.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, I just want to throw that out there on Considine, because obviously definitely one of the greatest players we've ever seen come through Byron and putting up great numbers. And, to see him come back from injury, obviously falling short with Montini last year, and help carry this team back to the state championship game in his senior year, it almost feels like they have unfinished business.
It does. Especially after how good they were as that group was as sophomores, and when Talbert was a freshman. This I hate to use it. Feels like it's been written. It feels like it's been written on the wall, and you just got to get there. But that's what it feels like. It's just it seems like for this Byron team, everything this year outside the IC Catholic game and their game with Dixon early on has pretty much just been a focal point of getting to here and finishing the job.
Oh, 100%.
It's what it's felt like.
Yep, I agree with you. So let's take a look at the tail of the tape here for Byron and Unity. And there you have it. Byron 13-0, 6 trip to the state championship game, 3 state titles, 2 runner-ups, 31st playoff appearance, averaging 50.2 points per game, allowing 7.8 points per game. Their path to state goes through round 1, Oregon 63-15, round 2, Dupac 38-12, round 3, IC Catholic 28-6, and round 4, Richmond Burton 44-10. On the other side of the ball, the Unity Rockets are 12-1. This is their 7th trip to state. They've never won a state title. They've been the runner-up all 6 times they've been there in the past. This is their 33rd playoff appearance, averaging 42.2 points per game while allowing 15.5 points per game. Their run to state went as this. Round 1, Mount Carmel 42-14. Round 2, Monticello 21-20. Round 3, Williamsville 42-7. And then round 4, St. Joe Ogden 51-44. So, again, 2 high-scoring teams. Neither team really gives up a lot defensively, which, going through all 3 of these matchups, every single one of these teams is averaging over 36 points per game. All of them are allowing 2 touchdowns or less per game. It's one of those things where we could either see some high-scoring affairs, where we're going to see some lopsided games based off of the difference in styles, as all 3 teams from the north are power run. 1 team from the south is power run. The other 2 are spread teams.
Yeah, and the old adage, run teams win in November. Not to tip my hand, but I think most people will know where I'm leaning.
All right, let's take a look at that 1A bracket. And there it is. So as you can see in 1A, Lena Winslow is the projected favorite by 20 points over Brown County. So, they're entering this game as a 16-point favorite, projected to win by 20 points. Thoughts on that, Logan, without giving away your personal pick?
Given the level of competition that Lena's played, and obviously the rating takes into account, the 2 losses that Brown County had at this point, it kind of feels on par for what I feel the projection would have.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, when we were talking at the beginning of the season, before Lena Winslow Stockton happened, Lena Winslow entered as a minimum 2-point touchdown over the entire field. And, once they lost to Stockton, Stockton definitely jumped up mightily. Your friend Jack Hall was a little upset because I had Stockton in front of Camp Point Central, and it's like, it wasn't me. It's the rating system. But Honestly, whether you like it or not, Stockton was just better in Camp Point Central this year. And you don't have to agree with me, but that's just the truth. They were. But with that, Lena Winslow quickly started to rise back up and, obviously have recovered from that loss. And then on top of that, avenge that loss. And, no different than Brown County, though. I mean, Brown County was a team that me and you had talked about being there as one of the teams to watch out for. Brown County started off in our state rankings, so they've been in our state rankings all year. But as far as like the ratings went, they were nowhere to be seen. And then they slowly started coming in to that picture, and now they're sitting in the third spot in that picture. So, with that, they definitely have lived up to what me and you had thought that they would be all season long.
Yep, I've been on this Brown County team since last year. I brought them up when I joined that Instant Reacts in week 8. I have been on them since that moment. That is my like claim to fame. I have been on that Brown County team since then. I said I thought they could win a playoff game last year, and they did. They did win a playoff game last year, and this year they managed to get to state for the first time. So it's a credit to how good that group of kids is, how good that coaching staff has been this year. So it's a testament to them.
That it is. Let's take a look at Class 2A here as we pull that up so you can see there. Wilmington, Maroa, Forsyth. Wilmington, an overwhelmingly favorite, projected to win by 37 points. Taking a look at this 2A field and just the way that Wilmington has blown through it, it's one of those things where it kind of is twofold of what we said. We at the beginning of the year, we said that the 2A field definitely looked much weaker than what we've seen in years past, but with it was going to bring a lot more parity and suspense and would be a fun classification to watch. And then if Wilmington dropped in, they were going to become the heavy favorite. And all of that has come true here because we've seen a lot of great games between teams here in these playoffs, with the exception of the games that Wilmington is in.
Yeah. Part of me, and this isn't because I think 3A would have been even crazier with Wilmington in it. Part of me wishes we could have seen how 3A would have broke out with Wilmington in it, just because that would have added to the craziness of that 3A North bracket. That also probably bumps BCC to the south, so that makes the southern bracket even more interesting with the Illini Prairie. So part of me wishes we would have seen that, but the sheer dominance that Wilmington has just shown in this playoff run is equally as entertaining, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I don't think, I can't say we haven't seen something like this happen, but it's been a long time since we've seen something like this happen.
It's been a while.
I really liken
It's been a while.
I really liken this Wilmington team to the 26 Forreston team and the dominant run that they had, but even they weren't clocking every opponent like Wilmington has. They just have very similar styles of play in how they went through and did things, and how their line was able to get through to the second level, create big open holes for their backs to get through. Defensively, you couldn't penetrate them. I mean, they were just fast everywhere, and they set the edge like no other, and that's exactly like what this Wilmington team does. They are so fast to close on the ball. They do a great job of setting the edge so you can't get to the outside. Good luck getting anything up the middle. In these playoffs, we have yet to see a team match their physicality, which, honestly, let's be honest, not a surprise there. Yeah, it would have been fun to see Wilmington in Class 3A. I think that they definitely would have been able to give Byron a run for their money this year, more so than last year, but I definitely feel that this year's team would definitely have been a fun one to watch. And of course, those two teams had a history in the 2010s as well, going back and forth on each other. But, regardless, they're here in Class 2A, kind of what we anticipated. I mean, as soon as all these enrollment changes happened statewide, and it wasn't just Wilmington. There was like 400 some schools that had adjustments done to their enrollments, right?
Never forget Peoria having 300 less or more students than they actually had.
Right. So despite all that, they have been in our 2A projections. They were in our 2A projections every week of our playoff outlook from week 5 to week 9. They were always in Class 2A. And yeah, we saw the line drop, and I remember some guy calling me out. He goes, "Well, you said that, Wilmington could be in 3A. Well, yeah, I said that they could be, it doesn't mean that they are going to be. And at the same time, I hadn't done any of the calculations. I just know that back in week 8, we went through a lot of upsets where, a lot of people were asking, does this move Wilmington to 3A? Does this move Wilmington to 3A? And my best line until I could go through everything was, well, it could. And that's all I said. And I was being told that I was inconsistent. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, anyway, doesn't matter.
I remember
Otherwise,
after
I'm
week
just gonna
8.
say some
I
stuff
remember
that
after week
doesn't
8.
matter, but
I remember after week 8, I
regardless.
messaged you all a 2A question mark,
Oh yeah,
and I got,
and
I don't know.
yeah, and to be honest, that was the one where it's definitely seemed more likely based off of what we saw. Which was ironic because, I mean, I remember telling you, I see the enrollment lines going up rather than down. Well, we saw 1A and 2A come down, but 3A went up.
It's a weird year. That's all I'll say.
It was, but let's be honest, it's been a ton of fun at the same time. All right, let's take a look.
This has been a really fun year.
It has been. Let's take a look at that 3A projection. So there you have that, and Byron is projected to win by 20 points over Tolono Unity. Logan, give us your thoughts on that one.
I mean, again, it's one of those things, and I'm a big proponent of HS ratings and projection system you use. I'm a huge proponent of it because I like it. I look at it and I'm just like, yeah, that feels right. I can't. There isn't. I'm not able to poke a hole. I'm like, yeah, that feels right. That feels about what I would have in my head.
Yeah, I love
like
all
if I
these.
was just projecting the game out.
I love all these people that sit
Go
here
ahead.
and say that they're my projections, as if I own this company that does these projections. It's like, no, I just put stuff out there because, one, it gives information. It gives people an idea of what could happen, can happen, and, the likelihood of it happening is obviously very high. Either way, it's a lot of fun because
That was funnier when you did that.
Oh, geez. I know. And people cried then, too. I'm sorry, but facts don't
You're
care
too
about
honest.
facts don't care about feelings. It's just the way it is. Feelings are for moms and dads. Facts are for people like me and you. And I like to work off of factual information. That's just stats are there for a reason. They tell a story. So does competition. Competition and your opponents of who you play tell a story, and that story paints a picture. And, I like to create the best picture possible with the most accuracy, and then be able to talk factually about each and every one of these teams while collecting film and talking to coaches, opponents, and all that stuff. And, it's a lot of fun. And you're never going to get away from people not agreeing with you. And it's not that I want your agreement. I don't care about that. I'm just trying to provide you information. That's what this whole thing's about, putting out good information that, people look at, and creating content for people to discuss and evaluate. That gives you a look at Class 1A, 2A, and 3A. And like I said, we're not going to pick our picks. If you want to see our picks, we're going to do our playoff live show on Friday, live from Hancock Stadium. We're going to be on YouTube. So I've already put the links out there, but we'll get them out there again. But if you want to sign up for or subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can subscribe to View from the West channel as well. We have a simulcast going, so it's going to broadcast on both channels, but that way you get the information to know right when we go live. That way you don't have to try to find, hey, they're live, where's that link at? Subscribe to our channel. You don't have to worry about it. You'll get a communication when we go live. Makes it easier for you. And at the same time, you don't miss when we start either. But we'll be live at 8:30 a.m. on Friday to preview the Class 1A State Championship game. We'll be live again on at 12:30 to preview the Class 2A State Championship game. And then we're going to be live one more time at 3:30 to preview the Class 3A State Championship. Our Facebook page is going to have the live press conference coverage. And then we'll also have live video feeds on our X channels that will have highlights of the game. So if you don't follow us on Facebook, give us a follow on Facebook, because that'll help you see our press conference presentations live. If you don't follow us on X, give us a follow on X as well, at NUIC Football. That will help you take a look at our coverage with the state championship games, along with the highlights as they're coming in off the field live. Logan, this is going to be one of the greatest productions. Well, it's not going to be one of. It's going to be the best production show that we've ever put together at the state games. We've done a lot of stuff over the years. This one's going to multiply that. I said at the beginning of the year, this was year 10. We were going to go big this year. I feel like we've lived up to that. With that, View from the West continues to push that envelope as well. The collaboration between us and them has been absolutely fantastic. And to be able to get a lot of viewership collectively to what we do, to what they do, and then work together as a team to put all this stuff together has been phenomenal. So, kudos to Greg and Mitch for always putting out great content. And, obviously, we put out our content as well, but at the same time, they help push that envelope to make everything better for everybody involved and give our viewerships a great opportunity to see things, see our perspective, see Mitch and Greg's perspective, but collectively working together to bring out a great product. And at the end of the day, that's all we want to do.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've enjoyed the last 2 years I've been there, and I know I'll enjoy this one. I got a hotel booked this time too. I won't have to leave, be able to enjoy the after state game festivities. So I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Can't wait to watch a culmination of just a great season that we've covered and watched throughout the whole year. You've obviously been at a game seemingly every week, but the quarterfinal week, I've obviously been at a game every single week, so this has been nothing short of fun for me, so I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That quarterfinal week, though, wasn't bad. While I was in Minnesota,
No, it wasn't.
Getting some R&R at the same time, I did pick up 4 games that night.
You did. That photo of you at the hockey game on your phone. I was laughing. That one had me laughing pretty hard.
Yeah.
I remember I looked at my mom and I go, look at what he's doing. She's like, oh my God.
You can take me away from the game, but you can't take the game out of me.
That's right.
too much riding on the line for people not to be able to get updates the way that they want it. So, stay true to the product,
right.
so as they say. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I agree. Can't wait to get down there. Always a fun time. Like we said last night on the View from the West podcast, not only are we going to do all this state coverage and stuff like that, but we're going to do instant reacts live as well, most likely from the hotel lobby, after we make a pit stop at Pub 2. And I think it's going to be a blast. Hopefully a bunch of people are up to watch, as we'll be enjoying ourselves and talking about what these state championship games are. And regardless of outcomes this year, I can already tell you that this year's conversations are going to be a lot better than what they would have been last year had we actually been able to do that, just because of the pitfall of everything that transpired with last year's state championship games. But needless to say, all those teams did earn their way there and played by the rules to get there and win their titles. But definitely a lot more balance this year, which is better for the overall game, I feel, as well.
Yep, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Definitely a lot better than what would have been talked about last year. So I'm looking forward to it. It's just gonna be a lot of fun. So I'm excited for Friday morning and to go on through the day.
All right, so we gave you a look at what the projections look like. Obviously, I did not put up our state projection graphic, but if you want to see that, it is out there on our social media sites as well, so you can go see what we have the games projected at. We did go through HS ratings and Massey ratings, so we got two different projections out there. Our picks are going to come on Friday during the game preview shows, so it's going to be a ton of fun. Definitely looking forward to it. We'll continue to blast you with a bunch of information as we get ahead and get you prepared for the state championship games. So, as we get ready to sign off, we hope you have safe travels to the games. And safe travels back as well. But we also hope that you enjoy the state championship games wherever you're taking them in at. It's always a great thing to see these teams make their way to the championship game and then try to put on a show. And of course, the big games being played on TV and everything. So, it's a great thing for all of these kids that are involved, win or lose. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, making memories and, maybe even making friendships down the road. Who knows? But at the end of the day, it's fun. It's football. And it's great to be back at normal. But we're going to have Joe Merdian coming up next to go through the final recap of our I8FA season, go through a couple of awards. Logan, we're going to see you on Friday, my friend, at ISU. You have a good day, and I'll be in touch with you later this week. Life throws challenges our way, but when you need trusted legal guidance, Reese & Reese is here for you. With years of experience serving our community, they're committed to fighting for what matters most, you and your family. From personal injury to family law and beyond, Reese & Reese will stand by your side every step of the way. Call Reese & Reese attorneys at 815-968-8851 and put experience on your side. When it comes to concrete floors, don't settle for ordinary. Upgrade to extraordinary with Diedrich Epoxy. Whether it's your garage, basement, shop, or business, Diedrich Epoxy delivers durability, style, and a flawless finish built to last. Locally owned and trusted, they'll transform your space with professional epoxy flooring that stands up to whatever life throws at it. Take the first step today. Call Diedrich Epoxy at 815-239-1158 and bring strength and style to your floors. Thinking about buying or selling a home? Trust the team that knows this area better than anyone. Best Realty. Whether you're looking for your first home, upgrading for more space, or relocating, Best Realty is committed to making the process smooth, honest, and successful. With deep roots in our local communities and a track record of results, Best Realty isn't just in the business of homes, they're in the business of helping families take the next step. Best Realty. Local experts, real results, real people. Call today and move with confidence. Need a fresh look? Look no further than Neff Paints, where quality meets craftsmanship. From gyms and locker rooms to living rooms and home projects, Neff Paints has you covered with top-tier products and expert service. Trusted by local pros and proud supporters of our area athletes, Neff Paints brings the durability, color, and finish that lasts. Ready to get started? Call Skylar at 815-541-7338 and take the first step toward your next transformation. Neff Paints, locally owned, community driven, quality you can see. When it comes to planning for your future, you want someone you can trust. At Prairie State Investments, Mark Pfeiffer is here to help you build a plan that fits your life, your family, and your goals. Whether it's retirement, college savings, or investing wisely for tomorrow, Mark has the knowledge and local commitment to guide you every step of the way. Don't leave your future up to chance. Call Mark Pfeiffer at Prairie State Investments today at 815-668-8131 and start investing with confidence. Welcome back to NUIC Football. I'm now joined with Joe Merdian. And Joe, we just got done with the 8-man football state championship. We concluded that. And for the third consecutive year, we also awarded the Amboy Clippers a third consecutive state championship. What a game that was, though, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, so don't get into too much details. But before we went into the state championship game, there was a lot of things that we had talked about that were going to be keys of the game for both Polo and Amboy. And one of the keys for Polo was they had to be able to run the ball effectively with Mercer Mumford. And for the most part, they were able to do that. Granted, they definitely had a lot more success earlier in the game than later in the game. And then, of course, it was like late third quarter when we saw Mumford go down and never was able to return to the game, unfortunately, either.
Yeah, that was kind of a unfortunate situation there for the Marcos. As you said, early in the game, especially the first two drives, they're moving the ball with Mumford. I think he had a little over 100 yards in the first quarter there. So, Polo was able to do what they wanted, control the ball, get stops on defense. And but unfortunately for the Marcos, it did not last the whole game. Amboy kind of got it figured out a little bit, started getting a few stops, had some couple of big stops throughout the game that we'll touch on here in a little bit. But congratulations to the Amboy Clippers, the 30-20 win, and back to back for Amboy.
Yeah, I had Mumford at 106 yards in that first quarter.
Yeah.
So quite the impressive onslaught there. My notes are a little off. I had it 2 yards short, but that's regardless. I have my other notes right here. Touchdown runs at 31 yards and 25 yards, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But, for those that have not seen, that is the final score for Amboy. Like you said, Joe, the Clippers getting it 30-20 and bringing home another gold ball trophy to Amboy. But, for having the two most prestigious programs in I8FA being able to face off in their first ever state championship against each other, I think this game definitely lived up to the hype and the billing that had been placed on it in the week leading up to the game, and of course with our pregame show ahead of the game.
Yeah, I would agree, Kyle. I mean, you look, at the past state championship games, with the exception of the 2021 game, most of those games had been decided by halftime, and you had a real good idea who was going to win the game. This was not the case. This game was 14-14 at the half. And in the third quarter, albeit Amboy was driving and scored early in the fourth, it was still only 22-14 going in the fourth. I mean, what more could you ask for a state championship game? I mean, that's what you want when you get to you know, the carpet there at Monmouth is to have a 1-score game heading into the fourth. You can't ask fans couldn't ask for anything more. So, yeah, it was all it was hyped up to be, and I think both teams should be really proud of the way they played. And Kyle, I talked about this on my 8-man spotlight on 8-man football podcast earlier in the week, but just the sportsmanship and respect shown by these two teams. And again, not that I expect anything different with these two coaching staffs and these two programs, but just you just can't say enough about the sportsmanship and respect that was shown before, during, and after the game by these two programs.
Yeah, it was definitely something where you could tell that some of these kids on the squads were friends with each other or talk to each other, outside of the game. And also, like you said, just had the utmost respect for each other
Yep.
all the way through. And it was a great contested game. Great sportsmanship, great gamesmanship. And really, you got two, like you said back on our preview show, you got two great coaching staffs here that really resemble what football's about. That they build up their team and their players. Their players kind of resemble the culture that they've established within their programs as well. And it definitely showed out on Friday night down at Monmouth. I will contest with you, though. There is one thing that the fans could have asked for, and that was less rain.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't have to worry about it, but
well, I say when you're in the president's suite, Kyle, like we were, you're not too worried about the rain. Not to brag, just stating the facts, but hey.
Yeah, I had Zachary there with me, kind of doing a simulcast broadcast for NUIC Football and View from the West, and he was down on the field the entire time. And there was a couple times I seen him run under the polo tent that they had set up on their sideline, just trying to do some things. But no, he did a great job, and we were able to get some great highlights there, and really be able to bring a lot of that attention forward as well.
Yeah, and although it was raining, Kyle, maybe the warmest state championship game we've had at Monmouth. And I don't even think it's close. I mean, seems like those other ones have been a lot colder than it was on this past Friday night. So again, not ideal that it was raining, but temperature wise, fairly warm for a Friday night in November, I would say.
No, 100%. And it was a great night of football. It was awesome. And really, to echo your words, yes, there really wasn't a whole lot that you could have done differently to make it any better than what it was. I mean, it was a fun environment, as it always is. It was great to see the teams. We had a surprise visit from Coach Alston pregame.
Yeah.
So I think next year we'll have to work that in to where we do get some coaches interviews in for our show, because that was a lot of fun. And, obviously we're able to ask some good questions last minute without notice, but, as such, he gave us great answers and great information for that pregame show, which was really cool.
Yeah, that was nice of Coach Alston come up. And the other thing, Cal, too, you talk about the coverage, what we did in the pregame and all that, and everything you guys did with posting pictures and all that stuff. How about the TSSR broadcast? So shout out to Dwayne and his crew. I think Friday night, wasn't there something like 12,000 views by the time that game was over? Something crazy like that. I don't know what it's at now. I haven't checked recently, but we talked about how it's the only game in the state. The spotlight was on 8-man football Friday night, and there was obviously a lot of football fans in Illinois and probably, outside of Illinois checking this game out on Friday night. So I just think that's pretty cool to see how far 8-man has come, how big the sport of football in general is. But it goes to show, if there's football on and you got two good teams playing, people are going to watch.
Yeah. Don't know the total amount, but it's definitely over 12,000 views, like you stated, Joe. So, very, very good numbers. The best thing is I've heard from different people around the state that had tuned in and it was their first time watching 8-man football. So once again, we're getting
Right.
more people to watch the 8-man game to help open up their ability to understand the game a little bit better and take it all in. I remember hearing about a comment that, there was a play where somebody is running the sideline. They didn't see the chalk line
Yeah.
because they didn't know that the field was actually narrowed.
Right.
So they're
Right.
like somebody had ran out of bounds. They're like, no, keep running, because he was still on the field of play. And they're like, no, you can't keep running. He's out of bounds. Like, you see that line right there? That's actually the boundary line. But, and obviously Illinois is not the only one that does that, because when you watch the Iowa 8-man state championships, they too play at the Unidome. So
Right.
they also have to put down their sidelines across the regular field, so to speak, to grab a actual boundary line. And at the end of the day, it's really not that big of a difference
Right.
for the referees. I mean, they know where the boundaries are. The players know where the boundaries are. So, I don't know. To me,
Yeah.
it's cool. It's fun. I like it. I had somebody also tell me, they're like, I've really started to enjoy watching 8-man football because there's just so much more excitement going on with the game.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing, Kyle, I still know there's those people out there that think 8-man's all about offense. Well, if you
Oh,
watch this
Jamie.
game, there is some pretty good defense being played by both of these teams. There was a lot of 1 and 2 yard gains in this game, especially early on from both teams. Defenses were making some big plays, both defenses early in this ball game. And again, it just goes to show that 8-man is more than just about an aerial attack and airing the ball out. You got to have a pretty good defense too to make it this far.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It's always something. It's always a ton of fun. I definitely enjoy the game a lot, obviously. Let me silence that there. I just, there's just so much that you can really enjoy about it. And taking a look at um some of these plays here. Let me see if I can get this pulled up here. We'll take a look and see if I can do this right. So I'm gonna do a screen share here.
Yeah, that's Mumford's second touchdown run there.
Yep. So that in itself gives you a lot of what you can see.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just let that run here for a little bit longer. But you still have to play football. Blocking schemes still come into play here. And you can see that block there by Blockno just
Corbin
opened up that hole there.
Yeah, and Corbin Cavanaugh, that was number 8. They're pulling all the way from the left end position there. So that's a nice block there by Corbin to free him up there too as well.
So obviously, what we always talk about, there's always different principles, and this is clearly wing T principles with a pulling backside tight end that is basically similar to a guard. You have the fullback coming, which is Plackno, who also runs as a guard. And shout out, this is obviously on View from the West page, put out by Zachary Shimon, who was helping us out on the broadcast. But either way, very good stuff there.
Yeah.
And later in the game, we also had some other plays that were I think we had a lot of big plays. Mumford had a lot of big plays. Jose Lopez had a lot of big plays. And when you start breaking all that information down, like you said, Polo is up 14-0 with 1:59 left in the first quarter. And I remember thinking, I was like, oh man, is this going to be a Polo runaway game? Like, did
Yeah.
Polo dial up the right amount of stuff to offset what we thought Amboy was? And, we get to the end of the first quarter. Mumford's already got 106 yards rushing. He has 2 touchdowns with 29-yard run or a 31-yard run and a 25-yard run. And then it wasn't until about 5 minutes before halftime when Amboy finally responded.
Yep.
Jose Lopez got free for 33 yards, and then he broke free for 29 yards on the very next play to get the touchdown. And just like that, they were back in contention and made the score 14-8.
Yep.
And honestly, I thought that was going to be what we were going to have for a score going into halftime.
Right.
But somewhere along the line, I can't remember I think it was a punt by Polo, but then Amboy was able to drive right back down the field. And with 10 seconds left before the half, Tanner Welch was able to find Cody Wynn on a crossing route for a 9-yard touchdown. They, too, had missed the conversion on that play, but that tied the game up at halftime, 14-all.
Kyle, let me back up there just a second. That second touchdown drive by Amboy started when Amboy stuffed Polo. Remember on that 4th and 2 at like the 47?
Yeah, okay, it was turnover on down.
Remember, they had to bring the chains out, and it was inches short.
Yep.
And that, to me, is kind of where the game really changed right there. When Amboy got that stop, because Amboy doesn't get that stop there. Even if Polo doesn't score, you feel like Polo's probably good enough to at least run the clock out in that half where Amboy doesn't touch the ball. So that, to me, was a huge, huge turning point. Then also Amboy kind of going into the hurry up there as well. And kind of, I don't want to say catching Polo off guard per se, but man, Amboy was quick right back up the line, ready to go before Polo was on a few of those plays on that second touchdown drive. So that was very impressive by the Clippers there too, that portion of it.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. I do feel that, Amboy or Polo would have been able to run out the clock had they converted that first down. I forgot it was the first down there, but I do remember after you said that, I do remember that play. And like you said, yeah, it was barely short of the stick, but nonetheless, it was short.
Yeah, because that was at the 3:40 mark of the second quarter when they called that timeout on 4th and 2.
Yep.
So, Amboy stopped them there, and then they drove, what was it, 55 yards or whatever it was in the last 3:40 of the half there to tie it up.
Yep. And especially when you take a look at that, if that doesn't happen and then Polo comes out in the second half with the ball on top of that,
right,
you have a little bit more momentum going underneath of your belt, because then you have a drive that could put you up, and we'll talk about that drive here in a second. I want to get through the halftime stats first, but you could talk about a drive that would potentially put you up by 2 scores.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, yeah, if Amboy doesn't stop Polo there and Polo goes down and scores, you're looking either 20-8 or even 22-8 going in the locker room possibly, and Polo's getting the ball, like you said. So, just a monumental stop on 4th and 2 there by the Clippers. Because, like I said, Polo, they score there. They're up 2 scores, and they get the ball. Who knows if Amboy, even as good as they are, could recover from that. So, big play by the Amboy defense there for sure. And Kyle, the other thing, and I talk about this in my podcast too already earlier in the week, but Amboy, you never saw panic out of Amboy when they were down 14-0. Never. And you didn't even feel panic. You know what I mean? Just being at the game. Like, they just stayed composed, kept playing Clipper football, kept doing their thing.
Well, the big thing is Amboy was on the other side of the field, so I couldn't really hear their fans as well.
Right.
And usually the home side of those stands are absolutely packed in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the weather pushed away a lot of crowds this year,
right?
Which unfortunately was sad for what a great game this was.
Yeah.
And I felt that had it not been raining, we would have had a better crowd there for the game.
Right.
Because I know there was a lot of people that had said that, if it wasn't raining, I would have been there.
Right.
And but they did tune in on YouTube, and unfortunately the viewership is just a little bit down from what it was last year, but at the same time still well ahead of where it was in 2023.
Right.
Which is just showing. And then, like I said, I've had multiple people say that they were able to watch the 8-man state championship game for the first time this year. So, and at the end of the day, that's all you want to do, is be able to bring out the ability to watch it, promote it, and then hopefully you can continue to build upon it collectively to get people interested in it. Anyway, halftime stats. Mumford had 14 attempts for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. JT Stevenson, 9 attempts for 33 yards. Like I said, that second quarter started to take shape. So Tanner Welch was 3 for 5 passing for 40 yards and a touchdown. Cody Wynn, 3 receptions for 40 yards and a touchdown. That was actually going to be the only passing that Amboy did the entire game. Was right there in the first half. Jose Lopez definitely started to heat up, and as Jay said, Jose's my guy. And he started to heat up. 14 attempts. This is what gets really interesting. 14 attempts for 95 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
The second half, he almost ran for 200 yards in the second half with 2 touchdowns.
Right.
On 15 attempts.
Right. No, that's the thing. You're like, man, Lopez in that first half, 14 for 95. That's a really good half. Like, how are you going to top that? Well, he did. And I know, Kyle, at halftime, you would come up to me. You were pumped up about how good a game this was. I was pumped up. I mean, I think everybody was like, wow, 14-14 at half. What more could you ask for? I
remember at the end of the first quarter when Polo went up 14-0, I came over and I kind of squeezed the back of your shoulder.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this is good. This is good, right?
Yeah.
And then, obviously I didn't have a root for anybody. I didn't care who won. I was just there as a fan. And obviously a lot of people were talking about Amboy's just going to roll over Polo. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Polo did a lot. And hats off to Coach Alston and his staff for noticing things that they could do differently to make their offense more productive. And it definitely showed later in the season. And then it showed out in this game when they went toe-to-toe with Amboy, who literally was everybody's favorite to win this game.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
I think if you weren't in Polo or a Polo fan, or you weren't cheering for an underdog story, everybody else pretty much had Amboy picked to win. And I did. I did feel it was going to be a close game. I think I had like Amboy by 8.
Yeah, I think you said 28-20 and ended up being 30-20. You were, folks, he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I just had that feeling. But then when, Polo jumped out to that 14-0 first quarter lead, I'm like, oh man, maybe I'm way off here.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Which I would have been fine with that too. I don't care one way or another. But we had really discussed that. We felt like it would be a close game in the first half, and then you'd start to see something happen more so in the second half. And it really wasn't much of a pull away, but going in the second half, obviously Polo was able to get the ball. They drove the length of the field and then came up short to turn over the ball on downs at the 5-yard line.
Yeah, and Kyle, actually a key play earlier in that drive is when Amboy got called for running into the punter on 4th and 2 there that kept that drive alive. And then a few plays later, Mumford runs it 50 yards down to the 12-yard line. And Polo's saying, all right, here we go. We got a break. Amboy made a mistake, which they don't do very often, especially on special teams. And, Polo has it 1st and 10 at the 12. But Amboy stops him on 4th down. I think it was a 4th and 5 at the 8-yard line. Completed the pass to Mumford. It was only for a yard or two, though. It was well short of the first. But then Amboy, after that, they go on that 95-yard drive to take that 22-14 lead. And that was the drive where Lopez had that awesome 79-yard run all the way down to the Polo 6-yard line. Broke, I don't know how many tackles, at least 3. And,
Yeah.
then he punched it in few plays later for the touchdown to go up 22-14. So,
And by that time, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it, another huge defensive stand by the Clippers in this ballgame. We talked about the one in the first half. This is definitely one of note in the second half here where they held Polo in the red zone without any points there.
Well, and I mean, that drive alone, obviously he had that 79-yard run, but by that time, when he scored that touchdown, he only added 4 more attempts to his for his yardage and stats on the game, and he was already sitting, like we said, 14 for 95 at the half. By that touchdown drive on 4 carries, he was sitting at 19 attempts for 182 yards after that drive.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're still got 5 minutes to go in the third quarter, so pretty impressive. And I think, Kyle, you were starting to see a little bit in that third quarter there where Amber got the ball. And then towards the end of the third quarter, their line was really starting to take control of this game, maybe start to wear Polo down a little bit. Amboy's offensive line, Stenzel and company and O'Malley and those guys, they were really starting to wear down Polo, I felt like, in that third quarter.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. So obviously that score remained the same going in the fourth quarter, but then pretty much at the start of the fourth quarter with 11:16 still to play, Amboy was able to put up another touchdown on the legs of Lopez again, and that was led by a 14-yard run, a 15-yard run, and then he finally dashed in with I said 3-yard run. It was a 23-yard run.
Yeah.
Well, my notes are wrong there, but it was a 23-yard run that added another touchdown to that lead. Obviously, they were able to get the conversion run from Lopez as well. That put them up 30-14. And at that point, it kind of felt like, okay, there was still enough time for Polo to come back. But by this time now, you saw Mercer Mumford on the sidelines getting taped up with ice. So then you were starting to wonder, what can Polo do here? And
yeah,
I believe they had a punt in there at one point as well, didn't they?
Yeah, so actually we back up there to that third quarter quick. Mumford got hurt, and then Polo had to punt the ball when it was 22-14. And you're thinking, man, Polo needs to make a play on defense at some point. Mumford's on the sideline. Well, that first Amboy play after that punt, Rouse sacked Welch for a 9-yard loss. So it's 2nd and 19 for Amboy. But then Lopez ripped off a 17-yard gain to get it right back to a very manageable 2nd and 2. And then, that's when Amboy, controlled the ball the rest of the third and scored early in the fourth there. And then, Kyle, another great defensive play by Amboy here as we're into the fourth quarter now, where Stevenson had completed a couple passes to Reed, I believe one to Rao, but then Rylan McNitch with one of the best interceptions you're ever going to see in 8-man football from that defensive end spot, tipped the ball up in the air and caught it, and had a nice return that stopped that Polo drive middle of the fourth quarter there when Polo was driving down 16. Just an absolutely awesome play by Ron McNitch there. One Amboy fans won't ever forget that we're there for sure. Yeah, there it is. I mean, puts his hand up, tips it way up in the air, comes down with it. I mean, what a play.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely, again, I've talked about all the big plays Amboy had defensively in this game, and that was definitely one of them. You know, because Polo was starting to drive the ball there a little bit. They'd picked up a few first downs on that drive. So what a play by McNitch there. That kind of, you know, stalled. Well, it did stall that drive, but I think
Yeah,
took a
they
little more
eventually
wind out of the
fumbled the
sails of the
ball away, and
Marcos
Polo
for sure.
recovered a little bit later on that series as well. But yeah, that interception could have led to even further disaster for Polo had they not turned the ball back over. But yeah, that was definitely a great play by McNitch on
Well,
that, and it
yeah.
it was his
Uh,
second interception of the season because his first one came all the way back in week 1. So he started the year with
right.
an interception, and he ends the
Yes.
year with an
Yes,
interception.
he did. And nothing like saving those interceptions for Millersville and Polo if you're Ron McNitch.
Right, right. But yeah,
Uh,
no, he did a great job. You know, he was getting blocked. He kept his eyes up, watching the
yeah.
court, watching JT Stevenson, and then read the play and just put that big bear paw up there and was able to tip it up in the air and then catch it and take off with it. So I mean, just great play there. And again, that just goes to show you that you know, 8-man football is still a lot of fun. You still got to play defense too, right?
Yeah. So then Amboy gets all the way down inside the 10 on the 5-yard line there. They fumbled the snap. Polo recovered. So Polo's still down 2 scores with 4:25 to go. Marcos didn't quit, though. He went Mumford on the sideline. Stevenson drove him right down the field. Some nice completions. Had a couple to Jordan Reed. Had a nice screen pass to Damon Rao. Had a nice pass down the right sideline to Eli Perez. Who's using everybody he had out there was Stevenson. The Marcos scored with a minute 12 to go. Stevenson hit Jordan Reed for a 14-yard touchdown pass. That made it 30-20. Unfortunately, Marcos missed the 2 for them. So that kept it a 2-score game there, which obviously, Kyle, we talk about it. Obviously, high school football conversions are huge. And there you see the pass to Reed that kept the Marcos alive at that point there. So nice route by Reed. Nice, perfect throw by Stevenson to that deep right corner of the end zone. Good catch by Jordan there.
Yeah. Great focus, great pass.
And then on that 2-point conversion, Kyle, I don't know if you remember, but I think they were throwing it to Reed again. I can't remember, but JT Stevenson had to get rid of the ball before he wanted to because Evan Flanagan was barreling down on him in that 2-point conversion. I talked about this in my Spotlight podcast. Like, you know, Flanagan, there's going to be nothing in the stat sheet there that shows up, but that was a quarterback pressure, I guess you'd say. They call it in the NFL. But he made Stevenson throw that 2-point conversion before he wanted to, and that definitely pretty much sealed the deal there for Amboy there with the Marcos not getting that 2-point conversion. Because the other thing, Kyle, Polo was able to drive down that field there in that last 4:25, and they didn't use any of their timeouts. You know, so they had all 3 of their timeouts. So if they could have made that 2-point conversion there, you know, had all 3 of their timeouts, get the onside kicker, else if you don't get, you still got your 3 timeouts. But unfortunately, they did not get the 2, and that was pretty much the ball game there. So, yeah, all in all, Kyle, just a great high school football game, great 8-man football game, and 2 storied 8-man programs going at it. And they gave us one heck of a game last Friday night at Monmouth College for sure.
Yeah, it was a great game. Obviously, you know, it would have been nice to have Mumford for the entirety of the game.
Yeah. Yep.
And I know he was trying to get back in. You could see it when he was down on the bench. He was trying everything he could to try to get back in, but it just wasn't going to happen. It just was not in the cards that night. But, you know, like you said, credit to Polo. I mean, even going through the adversity that they had, they were still able to go down, get a big play, get another touchdown on top of that. But furthermore, they were able to do some things that we hadn't really seen them do either. I mean,
Right.
JT Stevenson just did a great job there offensively. He finished the game 9 for 15 passing, 133 yards with the touchdown. Of course, that one interception by McNitch. But he also had 18 attempts for 47 yards on the ground. Mumford, unfortunately, in the second half, was only able to get 5 carries, so he was very well limited, but he did have a couple big runs in there before he got hurt, and his last carry was for a 4-yard loss, unfortunately, but he ended up with 19 attempts for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jordan Reed, 3 receptions, 46 yards, and that touchdown that we showed, and then Damon Rao, 4 receptions for 53 yards as well. But our player of the game was Jose Lopez, and deservedly so. Finished the night 29 attempts, 284 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Like we said, Tanner Welch and Cody Wynn connected on 3 passes for 40 yards and a touchdown. Colt McCoy, 7 attempts for 25 yards. Caden Heath, 8 attempts for 36 yards. So really, going back to what me and you were talking in the pregame show, we said that Polo would have to limit 2 of these backs to limited yardage.
Mhm.
One of them's going to get yardage. And really, Polo did that.
Yeah.
McCoy and Heath were basically rendered useless. I mean, collectively combined, they had 15 carries for 61 yards.
Yeah.
And I think anytime you're going up against Amboy and you hold those 2 to that, you're going to chalk that up as a victory.
Right. Yeah.
But the bad part is that Jose almost ran for 300 and had the 3 touchdowns. But, even passing wise, yeah, Welch was efficient. And yes, they only passed in the first half. But, I felt like Polo did a great job in their passing schemes as well. And of course, weather helped with that too, where it didn't make it really viable for them to want to or need to pass either. But I think defensive plan wise, they did a great job of. I mean, and it's not like they talked to us before the game to talk to us about their keys, but as far as what we had talked about on the preview show, they did a great job of hitting our keys for them to have success in this game.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the fact that, I understand that Lopez ran for 284 yards, but you end of the day, they still held Amboy to 30. So I mean, that's usually Amboy's putting that up in the first 5 minutes of a ball game. If it hasn't been Milledgeville or Polo, that's what they're doing to teams. So
yeah,
Kyle, I think the other thing, a note here, with Jose Lopez, a couple of notes here. One, obviously, and I'm sure Lopez would be the first to credit his offensive line. I mean, they were solid all night long. Maybe started a little slow, but they eventually wore Polo down and was giving Lopez those holes. The other thing, Kyle, we saw, and not that we doubted that this could happen, but you look at the semifinal game with Milledgeville and then the championship game against Polo, Lopez had 30 carries, 29 or 30 carries against Milledgeville, then another 29 against Polo. That's just not something we saw in the regular season because Amboy never had to do that. It was a lot of Lopez, 6, 7, 8 carries in the first half. Then he was done for the night because Amboy's in a running clock situation. So, I think we probably kind of wondered where would Amboy lean when they got in the playoffs and got in a tight game. Well, we saw where they were going to lean, and they leaned heavily on Jose Lopez. A combined 59 carries and almost 500 yards in the last 2 games against the 2 best defenses in 8-man football other than Amboy.
Yeah, he was awesome, and in his output as well. I have not had a chance to update final stats, but his total output on the season netted him 1,828 yards, which is good for 3rd in the I8FA. And the 3 touchdowns put him at 29 touchdowns on the season, rushing wise, which was second behind George Bailey's 41 touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is a guy that didn't even get all state mentions.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that happens, honestly, but that's a
I don't know. I
you
mean,
know, and
Jay said it best. How does a kid like Jose Lopez get underseen when he's playing on one of the best teams in the state, is the workhorse for the best team in the state, and gets overlooked for all state mentions, and yet if you were going to put a team together, he's going to be one of your top draft picks.
oh, without a doubt. I mean, I don't, I don't understand it. I really don't. I mean, you could go round and round and debate this several different ways, but
And I'm not trying to throw shade on anybody that got all state, because definitely we had a lot of great players this year that deservedly were all state players.
Right.
But literally, you left one of the best ones in the entire state off that list, and they're, granted, yes, they're on the best team, but usually you see the best teams have more players on the all-state teams at the same time.
Yep. I couldn't have said any better, Kyle. That was perfect.
But anyway, hats off to Amboy. Great job getting the 3-peat. Great job by Polo. Like I said, Mumford left it all out there on the field. JT Stevenson definitely lived up to everything that we had talked about prior, from his growth from the first part of the season to where he was at towards the end of the season. Just awesome to see. Obviously, Damon Rao and Wyatt Placknell, huge games in this game as well. Definitely helped open up that run game. And then, Esteban Salinas and Eli Perez definitely were huge players on the defensive side of the ball once again.
Yeah, for sure. And Kyle, the other thing I'll say about Polo is it's no secret I'm a Polo fan. These years are fun, Kyle, to where, I don't know if at the beginning of the season anybody thought Polo was going to be in the state championship game. So to me, you're disappointed Polo didn't win, obviously. And obviously hats off to Amboy that they earned it. But I think the cool part for a Polo fan is there was no pressure here to make it to state or to win state. And I feel like that just makes it a little bit more enjoyable. And when you're the heavy favorite from the beginning of the season, I don't want to say it takes away from it. But on the other side of the coin, when you're not, maybe people aren't expecting you to be there, it makes it a little bit more enjoyable. As say a parent or a fan or even a player, when you're not expected to be there and you do get there, makes it a little bit more exciting.
Yeah, I 100% agree. This was definitely a fun season. I mean, let's take a look at the bracket real quick. I put it on here, so we'll put the final bracket up there. So, there's the final playoff bracket, and when you look at these scores, okay, obviously when the brackets broke out, this left part of the bracket here, we definitely felt the bottom left part of the bracket, we felt was going to be the area where we would see a lot more action out of Amboy. And they kind of proved it. They stomped their way to a semifinal appearance.
Yep.
Up here, Milledgeville is definitely the favorite. We felt that if there was a team that was going to challenge them, it was going to be South Beloit. South Beloit did just that. Coming up short in a 22-6 game to Milledgeville. You come over here, we talked about South Fork being a team that had to be able to rise above the challenges that they faced. This was going to be a great opportunity for them to get their first playoff win in I8FA history. Check mark, they did that. There was an opportunity for them to go up against a North team to kind of prove that the South can play with the North. Check mark, they did that against West Carroll. But then they did meet their ultimate demise against Polo there in the
Right.
semifinals. But regardless, they got to the semifinals. South Fork and Coach Zach Hanlon and his staff put together a great season. Definitely captured the audience across the state. I've said it before and I'll continue to say it. I think that what they did was phenomenal, not just for them, their program, and their community, but for the state of I8FA football across the state as well. I think that, you know, everybody knew that going in those semifinals, they were the underdog. And I think they had everybody outside of the three communities that were also fighting for a playoff spot rooting for them for a chance to get to the state finals as well. And then you look at West Carroll too. West Carroll was there. You know, they kind of got saddled with a big loss. I mean, they got up quick, 8-0 in that game against South Fork, but you know, South Fork proved to be too much there. But West Carroll is definitely on the rise, and we saw that a lot this year. They're definitely one of the top 5 teams, and nobody can argue against that when you take a look at the rest of these scores either. So it's one of those things, Joe, where we're talking about that bottom right side of the bracket there. You know, Polo was coming out of there, and obviously everybody was talking about them obviously being a favorite. But, you know, that St. Anne and Metro East Lutheran game definitely was a game that we had talked about on the preview show or on the playoff show, where we figured that that game would be one to watch. It was one of really 2 of the first round games that, you know, stood out the most to us, that and the Pawnee, Flanagan, Cornell, Woodland.
Right.
And while both those games end up being like 2 to 3 touchdown differences in score, I think both games really kind of lived up to what we had anticipated it being. But then really St. Anne wasn't much to slow down Polo either, allowing Polo to book their way to that semifinal game. And then when we got to it, we knew that we had a great semifinal matchup on our hands. You know, we thought that South Fork would give Polo a better game than they did, but Polo defensively was able to shut down a lot of things South Fork was able to do. And on the other part of it, you know, with Milledgeville and Amboy, that was a great football game. Obviously, just a couple miscues by Milledgeville that Amboy is able to take in, but ultimately Amboy winning that one 18-8. Polo beating South Fork 46-14 to set up this championship match. That obviously Amboy won 30-20, but overall, going back to the point that we were talking about, you know, obviously the Power 3 were there, but 8-man football in general definitely had a lot more parity, which we spoke about a lot throughout the course of the season. And, you know, looking back on the entire season, you know, I feel like this was probably one of the best overall seasons to date in I8FA history.
Yeah, I would agree for sure, Colin. And we've touched on this a few different times throughout the season. You still got your teams at the top, but you feel like those, like that second tier of teams, they keep getting better and better each year. Now, are they necessarily closing the gap on the Poles and the Amboys and the Millersvilles? That kind of remains to be seen. You know, you look at what South Fork, you know, they knocked off West Carroll, but then got beat by Pole 38-0. So, although I feel those teams are getting better, I don't know if they're closing the gap yet. But again, you know, these teams are improving within their own program, and that's what you like to see.
Yeah,
And,
for sure.
you know, Kyle, the other thing too, you look at Amboy, you know, that semifinal win against Milledgeville, Kyle, that was a 6-0 game heading into the fourth quarter. So Amboy's only up 6. And then the state championship game, they're only up 8 on Pole heading into the fourth. You know, either one of those games, Kyle, could have went either way. And Amboy just got it done in the fourth quarter in both of those ball games. And again, just a shout out to them. I think some people may overlook that fact, you know, just because, oh, Amboy won 3 in a row, whatever. But you beat the other top 2 teams in what going in the fourth quarter was anybody's ball game. And I just think that needs to be mentioned again for, you know, how well Amboy played for 4 quarters in both those ball games, especially on the defensive side of the football.
Oh, no doubt about that. I mean, man, that was definitely fun. Being able to see those 2 games, 3 teams really square up and really give the state something to watch, but at the same time, kind of show to the state what we had talked about all year. Like, we got a lot of heat for having those 3 teams ranked 1, 2, 3 all year, despite the fact
Yes.
2 of them had a loss. And obviously, this bracket kind of validated exactly what we were trying to state, explain, and ultimately it proved itself out. But at the same time, between me and you, we obviously, one, we see a lot of football.
Right.
And 2, you could just see some of the differences and where there are some disparities yet, like you said, between the top tier teams to the next tier and then the next tier after that. And, obviously, no matter what, you're always going to have layers to it. Like, that's why you crown champions. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
That's, you get into this playoffs, there's a 16-team bracket. Well, 15 teams are going to lose their last game, Kyle. That's just the way it's set up, So,
yeah.
Kyle, I think we still have to mention Milledgeville one more time. Number 1 team all season. Obviously, they had 1 goal when this season started. That was to make it back and to win state. They fell short. But you look, Kyle, they beat both of the teams that played in the state championship game on their way to 11-1. I mean, they're in my mind will go down as one of the better teams to not make the championship game and definitely not to win state. In these first 6 years of this 8-man football league. So again, just a shout out to them for we talked about them so much throughout the whole season, and as you said, unfortunately, when you crown a champion, that's only 1 team. So there's going to be teams that are obviously disappointed in how they finished or didn't quite get to where they had goals to. But I'll remember this Milledgeville team for a long time, and I'm sure the people in Milledgeville will too as well.
Yeah, I mean, this Milledgeville team was awesome, and obviously they had to deal with a lot of adversity as well. You saw the number 59 on their helmets for
Right.
a previous player, Jacob Promenchenko, who passed away earlier this year due to cancer, and that was very unfortunate as well. And of course, his brother Jaden was on the team, number 22, and there was a rallying cry and a lot of supports around Milledgeville for that and what they did. And you know your heart goes out to the Promenchenko family. It goes out to the Milledgeville family for what they had to deal with. But at the same time, as a community and as a group of people and as a team, they all rose above all of that and put it towards a common goal. And while the common goal fell just a little bit short, like you said, no shame in what happened, no shame in how they left it all out on the
Right.
field. That it'll come back to being a season to remember once the pain leaves. They're gonna remember this season and look back on it and say, man, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And like I said, they gave Amboy their best shot in that semifinal game without a doubt. I mean, they held Amboy to 6 points through 3 quarters. I mean, you can't do any better than that,
No.
So unfortunately, they just came up a little short. So
That
again,
game
and then
lived up
Kyle,
to the same hype as week 1 did. It just got reversed.
Yep. And again, Kyle, you got to talk about Amboy here a little bit more. 3-time state champ, back to back to back. The last 3 years, Mr. Kampmier, the Amboy Clippers are 37-2. 37-2.
So
I mean,
when you look
obviously
at this team,
Pole's record in their time in 8-man is really good. Milledgeville's record time in 8-man is really good, you know. But man, 37-2 over a 3-year span.
Yeah.
I mean, you just, it speaks for itself.
And obviously they finished 12-1 this year. They were 12-1 last year. They were 13-0 and 23.
Right.
Yeah, the pain train is definitely rolling. And
Yeah.
guess what? We're gonna start off next year the same way we ended this year. Amboy's gonna
Yeah.
be number one. And again, they're gonna have the target on their back. They're arguably the favorite next year coming into the 2026 season. They return a bunch of these guys. I mean, their entire backfield and their quarterback are all back.
Well,
Flanagan's back.
Trevor Stenzel's back. You got
Stenzel's
Flanagan,
back.
Stenzel. You got 2 All-Staters on the line back.
And I mean, it. People are complaining about Amboy, obviously, and we're not going to get in that conversation in full, but at some point you just have to give props to where props are due. And right now, just like any other dynasty, you're witnessing history. It's not going to last forever. It's not going to last.
No, it's not. It's not.
And while people are upset based off of enrollment size or whatever, at the end of the day, they're no different than a lot of these teams that are out there.
They're putting the work in, Kyle. That's the thing. That's the thing I think people are forgetting that. They're not just showing up on Friday nights and winning these games in running clock situations. They're putting the work in, these kids and these coaches. This just isn't happening. I mean, I feel like that gets lost in the shuffle. And again, I know we don't want to get into all this with the enrollment talk. But please don't take away from the fact of how hard these kids worked for these back-to-back state championships. And it's 2 totally different groups of kids.
I know what I see, and I also know what other people see that are outside of Amboy. And I'll be honest, there's a lot of people that are talking about Amboy, but there's a lot that also say the exact same things I see. If they went to 11-man, they would get destroyed.
Yeah.
And with that, they have a bunch of kids that are first-time players, like a lot of these teams do. Yeah. And those kids don't go out if Amboy's not having the success, which then in turn makes their roster look bigger, but they have no football experience yet.
Right.
That's what successful programs do. You get kids that weren't going out before to start going out. And it goes back to what the entire mission isn't about winning state championships. I mean, yes, at the end of the day, you want to have competitive football and you want to have good football. And, Amboy's following all the rules that are placed in front of them.
Yeah.
They've done nothing wrong.
No, they have not broke any rules. So
and
people can
at the end of the day, I mean, I looked at what they were this year, and I put them visually into the NUIC, same as I did with Milledgeville. There's maybe 2 teams that they beat. One for sure. Both them and Milledgeville beat Dakota.
Yeah, but
do they beat Morrison and Fulton? I don't think so.
I don't know, but it's a whole different level, so I just know what Amboy, I've heard some of the stuff, and I know you've had conversations with Coach Payne, well, I think you had him on the NUIC All Access after last season, I believe, but
I gotta get him back on again. Gotta talk about that state trophy.
When Amboy made the decision to go 8-man, Kyle, they were struggling. And I'm not talking just record-wise. I'm talking numbers-wise. And it wasn't a decision that they just decided overnight to go 8-man.
No, I think they
They
were
put
down to
a
like 18 kids.
they put a lot of thought into this decision. I know they had several conversations with the Polo administration, because they know that those guys very well, because Polo was already in 8-man. This isn't just something Amboy decided to do overnight. I mean, this was a big decision.
And they didn't come in here thinking that they were going to do what they've accomplished either.
No, not at all. Not at all. So,
I like what you
it's
said, though. You got to put in the work. It still shows. And
that's
don't
the
get me
thing.
wrong. I know other kids are putting in work. But,
right. Yeah, and I'm not saying that either.
but a lot of people ask me why the North is so much more, and this is even in 11-man, why is the North so
Yep.
much more dominant than the South? Two things. One, the physicality of the play. The North teams still play at a much more physical level of the game than a lot of the Southern teams.
Mm-hmm.
Why? A lot of them have gone to spread formations. And when you line up against a team that wants to run the ball and literally smash it down your throat and play that true rugged smash mouth style football, I'm sorry to say this. I'm going to be blunt and truthful. But if you don't want to be able to hit and get hit, you're not going to find success in football.
Right. No. That spread offense will win you a lot of games in the regular season. It will.
Does.
It will win you a lot of games when it's 75 degrees and
I'm
you're
not
playing
saying
some
spread
lesser
offense.
competition.
And I'm not saying spread offenses
No.
can't win.
No,
It's
I'm not
the
either.
physicality of the play. If you're not willing to
Right.
put yourself into a physical atmosphere to literally go and want to beat the crap out of the kid in front of you, legally, of
Yep.
course, but do that on a repeated basis time and time and time again, you're not going to find yourself having success.
Yep.
The other part, I've watched a lot of game film, especially across 8-man this year, because I've watched pretty much every team across the state that had made the playoffs at one point or another, so I could put together good material to talk accurately on. That way nobody says, oh, he's just from the North, like I get anyway. It doesn't matter. But obviously the facts and the stats and everything else prove themselves out. So obviously I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I'm telling you the truth. You just fail to listen. But at the end of the day, when you take a look at some of these things, you watch some of these teams play. The more successful teams, you see all 8 or all 11 kids out there finishing the play whistle to whistle.
Yeah.
Your lesser teams aren't doing that. You're seeing
Right.
a kid in the middle of a play standing straight up, not moving, not blocking somebody, not pertaining to the play to help their team get extra.
Yeah.
That in itself is called effort. And if you're not literally giving 100% effort on every play and you go up against a team that wants to run it down your throat, have fun. You're going to have a long day.
Yeah. I agree.
There's a reason why I say run teams win in November, because at least here in the state of Illinois, run teams more times than not tend to be more physical teams. And it's really the physical teams that are going to win games.
Yeah.
And yes, when the weather gets crappy, it becomes a lot harder to throw the ball, as you very well know.
Yes, it does.
Anyway, that's my off the wall take. And I'm going to leave it right there because I've probably said too much already. But at the end of the day, you just got to speak facts and spit truth, and that's what I'm doing.
Yep. But all in all, Kyle, what a great season. And can't wait for 2026. It'll be here before we know it. And
we got a little off season. Get a wind down just a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, so I'll get in the basketball mode now, but
I haven't landed a coaching gig yet, so still waiting to see if I get back onto the baseball diamond or not. But
once spring rolls around, I'll start getting mentally prepped for football. So
we'll start to, honestly, probably by late December I'll probably start going through some things. Obviously, I got to finish off the 8-man stats, get final stats put out there, update all the all-time records that I have available. If you do watch this show and you still you don't see your team on the stats, please just send me an email, nuicfootball@gmail.com. Send me your stats. I'll be more than happy to get them updated, included. Obviously, the spreadsheet I work off of, I carry over year to year to year. That way I keep up with players and kids. And if it's as simple as your team is on max preps and your stats are loaded on max preps, just say, hey, go to max preps. I got my stats in.
Yeah.
Some schools do it and some don't. And some do it, but they keep it private at the same time. And trust me, I know how max preps works. I was a coach. I used max preps all the time religiously, but I also know there's some coaches out there that still believe that somehow hiding your stats is going to give you some kind of ghost advantage. I don't know. I mean, stats are just that. They're stats. It really doesn't define how you play in a game.
No, coaches that scout, they're going to watch game film. They're not going to look at the stat sheet.
They give two shits about stats.
Yeah. They're going to watch game film. So
And
doesn't
any
hurt
coach
to put the stats out
coach worth a darn knows that. I find
Right.
it funny that in today's day and age that you don't want to get your stats published to give your kids credit and give them recognition, because at the end of the day, like you said, there's more than enough film out there for any Joe Blow to go look at and see if your team's worth a darn or not.
Right, exactly.
And like you said, I don't need stats to see who's good. Oh, number 6, there he is.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Yes.
number 6.
Right on cue, Mr. Kampmier.
You know it. So we've gone through a good amount of conversation on who we wanted to pick for our I8FA Player of the Year. And we kept coming back to the same person. So, like we've done before, we have our I8FA Player of the Year goes to this gentleman right here, George Bailey.
George Bailey, South Fork Ponies.
Mr. Bailey had 2,301 yards and 41 touchdowns on the season, 12.2 yards per carry. On top of that, helped guide South Fork to their first playoff win in I8FA history, their first semifinal appearance in school history. When you think of MVPs, Player of the Years, this guy definitely stands out. He led a team to where nobody knew if they would be there or not. They hadn't had the history of doing it. He put up the stats and the numbers to be able to allow South Fork to be the team that was able to state new history for the Ponies. And, great job by George Bailey and, of course, the rest of the South Fork Ponies. And I know George himself would be the first one to say, it's his offensive line, and rightfully so as well. So congratulations to George on being our NUIC Football I8FA Player of the Year. Well-deserved. And, definitely a lot of fun for him and what everybody else has. A lot of people are wondering why he wasn't named like our player of the week throughout the course of the weeks, but at the same time, it's one of those things where I had to explain, our player of the weeks go to local players because, it's going to be hard. But I am looking at different avenues for player of the week for next year with a sponsor I have lined up already as well. So hopefully we can do some new things going into next year to add a little more to what our player of the weeks get outside of just general recognition. So we're hoping to either get t-shirts or mini helmets or something that degree involved with it. And I, like I said, I had a sponsor pitch me the idea already, and definitely looking forward to it, and should be a lot of fun moving forward as well.
Yeah, and Kyle, again, congratulations, George Bailey. Wow, what a year. South Fork put themselves on the 8-man map here. And anytime you win a Player of the Year, that's pretty cool. So Glad we were able to do that for George. Kyle, I don't want to get excited here and look ahead too early to next year. But boy, I'm just thinking of the candidates already for Player of the Year next year. I mean, Jose Lopez, Mercer Mumford, Aiden Buckholz, Hayden Schofield. I mean, that's just the names off the top of my head. What a fun year it's going to be next year.
Yeah, and I mean, that it's going to be awesome, like you said. On top of that, you have some of these guys here that are definitely going to be chasing history.
Yeah.
There is another player as well, and I don't have their stats. I'm working on getting them. I reached out to Jeff Borders. He plays for Bushnell Prairie City. Ran for 1,900 yards this year.
Oh, yeah. Hang on. His name's slipping my mind. Shoot.
Or 1,800 yards.
Yep. He was only a sophomore. He's going to be a junior.
Yep. He's going to be a guy that's going to really stand out as well.
Yes.
And
Forgot about him.
Gosh, I wish I could remember his name. I almost feel embarrassed right now.
I do too. It's on the tip of my tongue too.
Yeah. Same.
Javion Harrell. Is that
There
right?
you go.
Is that right? No.
No. Well, it could be, actually.
Boy, I apologize. I should know this.
It could be.
I think.
Yeah.
I think that might be it.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Graham Kelly for West Central is a guy we'll be looking at too.
Yes, Graham Kelly definitely stands
plays
out.
Up to his potential. He's a guy that can put himself in the mix.
Yeah, his mom shared a photo of him on our Facebook page this year, and she's very proud, as she should be. Obviously, he was only a sophomore this year. Big things ahead here in junior and senior year, and taking a look at a couple teams that we could see back in the mix next year. Obviously, Amboy is definitely going to be the odds-on favorite to win state again next year.
Right.
Whether people like it or not, that's just the truth.
Right.
What other teams to you, Joe, kind of stand out as being teams to watch and look at as being title contenders going in the next year?
Well, I think you start in the north, Kyle. I think Pole and West Carroll are in that conversation. I like the nice group of players both of those teams have coming back. I really think those two teams are going to be battling for that North Division title, and one of those two teams, or if not both, will be equipped as anybody to give Amboy a run for their money in the playoffs. Kyle, a team that missed the playoffs this year, I think that's going to be back on the map again next year, although they'll be very, very young. Ridgewood. They have a outstanding. It'll be sophomores next year. They'll be playing a lot of sophomores, but they are a very, very talented group. And I know South Fork, Kyle, I know they lose a lot, but they're bringing back a few guys. Plus, they'll get everyone forgot about Colton Puchetti, who injured his ankle in week 1, is out for the season, was going to be their starting quarterback. So you get him back along with some guys like Stefan Shanks and Foley and some other guys like that for South Fork. So I think they're going to be, I don't know if they'll be quite as good as they were this year, but maybe by the playoffs they could be.
I'm telling you what, Stefan Shanks is going to definitely be a guy to watch for.
Yeah.
He's a physical specimen. He's going to replace George Bailey.
And the way he plays defense.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he puts up Bailey-type numbers for South Fork next year.
Yeah. So South Fork, I think they're right back in the mix too. So another team, I think South Beloit, Kyle, they got a lot of skill guys coming back. Chase Harrington, J.C. Scober, and they had the freshman Gibson. So they'll be bringing back a senior, a junior, and a sophomore in that backfield. Now, if they can find enough up front, and I don't know if they'll move one of those guys to quarterback or, have somebody else there, but they definitely going to have Southlake definitely going to have the skill position guys. So,
Yeah.
and all in Hebron, they'll have Caleb Linneman. They'll have some other guys back too. So they'll have some guys replaced. But if you're asking me who maybe can have Amboy a run in the playoffs, I think right now my answer would be Paul and West Carroll be the two teams that right now I would say. Now my answer might be different come August 15th when I do a little bit more research and have all the facts in front of me.
Yeah, this is just a look ahead, and I wouldn't
This is just
disagree with
me
you.
spouting off here without doing just what I have up here in the old memory bank, so I'm probably forgetting somebody. But yeah, it's we'll see how it plays out, Kyle. So I can't wait. And I'll be honest, I think a lot of people I know a lot of people are already saying, well, Amboy's the favorite, and they are the favorite. But after last season, I had pegged Milledgeville as the favorite, and all season long I was pegging Milledgeville, and look what happened. Amboy beat him. So you just never know. I mean, there's no guarantees. The game's decided on the field. We can talk all we want, but the game's still decided on the field at the end of the day.
We all knew that Milledgeville would be what they were.
Yep.
We all knew that Amboy would have carried on what they needed to carry on, but we also didn't know who they would do it with outside of Caden Heath and Evan Flanagan. Now we have a boatload of those names.
Yep.
And Heath is one of the guys that's still returning again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But now we got Jose Lopez and Colt McCoy to add to the bunch along with Tanner Welch. The only thing is they got to replace Cody Wynn now, which that'll be a key loss. But at the same time, I'm sure that they'll have somebody that can at least step into the role, maybe not play it to the level that Cody did, but with the team that they have coming back and the amount of talent that they have, they can throw somebody in there that's going to help blend right into the mix.
I think with what we saw in the last two games where they featured Lopez, 29 carries and 30 carries, I could see them moving Colt McCoy into that receiver spot for a win and just featuring Lopez and Heath in that backfield, moving McCoy's big frame out to that wide receiver spot. That's just, again, me just spouting off, not knowing anything or talking to any of the Amboy coaches. That's just my opinion. It's a possibility.
Yeah.
So
and it's a great it's a great possibility, which has good balance to it as well. I mean, I think we're gonna see some teams that will surprise us. I am excited to see what Stephen Shanks can do for South Fork. I am interested to see if BPC can turn things around because they were relatively young.
They were very young. Yeah.
West Central had some players that were relatively young. And Coach Kirby does a great job there. I think he can do some things to help turn West Central back around. I mean, they put together a good season this year once again.
Yep. And Kyle, so many of these teams are going to have senior quarterbacks to replace. So many senior quarterbacks this year.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's going to be could be some teams early on that maybe are going to look a little bit different than they'll look by midseason or by the playoffs.
Yeah, I think Milledgeville drops off a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I think at the same time with the program that they have, it's going to kind of be like Amboy was last year, where they're going to bring some kids in. We might not know their names yet, but we're going to find out who they are, and they're going to be there when it matters.
Yep.
Well,
I'm
really excited for Orangeville. I think that if they can get a little bit more physicality out of their team, they could definitely have a big turnaround season.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there's there's a lot that they have to improve there. But they have the right horses in place because you have Comprud coming back at quarterback. You got Schofield back. Nathan Briggs is back.
Right.
And I know there's a couple other guys that are back that I'm just not remembering the name off the top of my head either right now. But I think they can have some. They have some key pieces that they can definitely build around, right?
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what they can do. But yeah, Polo, West Carroll, Amboy, South Beloit are going to be right there in the mix. And, yeah, I don't think we're going to see South Fork fall off that pendulum
No, I really
card
don't
either.
either.
So you can throw them into that top 5 mix again going into 2026.
Yeah. No, it's going to be fun. I can't wait till we do our rankings, Kyle, and next August when you're asking for my rankings to start the year. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
So
1,000%, man. Well, that gives us a wrap up for our 8-man schedule for the year. Obviously, we're going to be looking forward to the 11-man state championships this week. We got a lot of live coverage coming up for that for Class 1A, 2A, and 3A that we've discussed, and we have a full boat doing a collaboration with View from the West, so we're going to have people on live preview shows ahead of each of those games. We'll have live Facebook Live press conferences being viewed on our page. We'll have all state pictures, 8-man, 1A, 2A, 3A available as well. And then we're going to have in-game video highlights going on as well with Zachary Shimon doing the exact same things he did at the 8-man state championship. He'll be providing that here again at the state championships in Normal this week. So should be a lot of fun. For those going down to the games, safe travels. Obviously, there's some inclement weather getting involved that's supposed to hit sometime on Saturdays. So, look at your travel plans. Be safe. We don't want to see anybody, get hurt or anything like that or having a bad time. But should be a lot of fun, Joe.
yeah, without a doubt. I know. I'll be in my basement on Friday, Cal. I'm gonna have the IHSA games on one TV, and then the first place Chicago Bears on the other TV come game time on Friday. So I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to watching the Lena Winslows and the Byrons and the Wilmingtons, some of these teams that are there year in and year out, and watching some good football on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, how about them Chicago Bears, man? Bear down,
So,
Chicago Bears.
I mean, everyone knew we'd be in first place on Thanksgiving, right, Kyle?
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely. Oh man, yeah, no, it's been a fun ride, and obviously their performances aren't pretty, but man, they are gutting it out and getting the wins as they need them when they need them, and it may not be pretty, but it's fun, and it keeps you on the edge of your feet.
The end of the day, you get the W. That's what matters. And
that's all that matters.
NFL.
That's the conversation we had 2 weeks ago up in Minnesota. It doesn't matter if it's pretty or not. In the NFL, it's all about getting the dub.
Yeah.
But no, Joe, I'm excited. You're going to join us on NUIC All Access. So those that continue to follow us on into the winter, we're going to have our winter sports coverage starting up on NUIC All Access. That, too, is on a different YouTube channel, different Facebook page, different X page. All you got to do is look up at NUIC All Access, all one word, and we'll have more continuing coverage, boys and girls sports throughout the remainder of the school year. So if you don't follow us there already and like what we do, give us a follow there. Joe, I'm excited to get you on with Jay as another host as we go through basketball season, as it should be a fun time here this winter in the NUIC across both boys and girls on the basketball scene.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of good teams, boys and girls, in the NUIC. So I love talking basketball with Mr. Doyle. I can't wait to do it on a weekly basis now. So I'm looking forward to it, and appreciate the invite. I can't wait, Kyle.
Yeah, we're definitely excited to have you on. Obviously, your collaboration all season this year has been very much welcomed, and thank you very much for all the time that you have dedicated to help us out throughout the course of the season. in talking 8-man football, I really, outside of you and Jay, I really couldn't ask for a better group of guys to do this with. And it's definitely far exceeded my expectations. And it's been a lot of fun. And, along the way, we've gotten a lot of great compliments around it too. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, again, I appreciate you asked me to come on here, and it's been fun. I look forward to it every week, and it's just so fun following all these teams throughout the season and the different storylines that come up, the different matchups that come up, and how we start talking playoffs about week 4 or 5, and and then before you know it, it's week 9, and then we have the actual bracket, and then we're breaking down the actual bracket. It's so much fun. So
when we start getting hated on in weeks 4 and 5.
yeah.
Just kidding. I know that people definitely enjoy it. More so than the negative comments that come out. But at the end of the day, I also understand being a fan. It's short for fanatic, and everybody's fandemonium has to take place somewhere. And to be quite honest, I appreciate those that like to stick up for their teams. It's the passion, the backing, and the following that make high school sports so awesome. And as such, I'll always tell you, you should always root for your teams no matter what ups and downs. Root for your teams and show them your support. They deserve it. They put in the work. They do what they need to do. Some probably need to put in a little bit more work than others, but at the end of the day,
they're still just kids, though, Kyle. At the end of the day, so support them.
Exactly.
They're kids.
Go out and have fun, because that's what that. At the end of the day, it's what it's all about. It's having fun and learning life lessons and behaviors. But anyway, we'll see you around the corner. Excited for the upcoming season. Obviously, we're about 9 months away from that, but start tuning in about the start of August. We'll start getting the preview stuff pumped out there and get fired right back up again. But we appreciate you following along all season. Obviously, we've seen significant growth this year. Our Facebook page is raised up over 2,000 people this year. Unbelievable additions following along. And our Twitter page has definitely been on the high note, and even our YouTube channel, we're almost to 1,000 subscribers already. So it's been a great year, and I couldn't be more satisfied with how everything's turned out. And, again, thank you to all the 8-man coaches out there for providing us all the information that they have. For those that were able to attend our playoff show as well, that was a ton of fun. That's definitely something that's going to get replicated again next year. Gosh, that just really was awesome. And well, obviously we'll curtail it a little bit.
Yeah.
It won't be such the rapid fire that it was. And it was a ton of fun. And definitely looking forward to it with a little bit different appeal next year. But no, should be a lot of fun. Year 10's in the books, and it was a blast. And we thank you all for your support. As always, support your teams, root for your kids, but always root for the NUIC.